Chapter 76. After explaining everything to the earthly branches, Netero took Mo Lin to NGL. In less than half a day, we arrived in NGL. At this time, the NGL territory is already littered with corpses. All forces gathered here. Mo Lin packed his bags and headed to investigate. The hungry Ant King and his 3 guards. Cats are somewhere in Kate Trio. Hisoka and Illumi act alone. The division commanders who escaped from the control of the Chimera Ants. And finally, Netero and Mo Lin who arrived late. These forces, with their own purposes, continue to explore in the NGL area. At this time, Mo Lin carried his small backpack and ran towards the Chimera Ant's nest. After receiving the task, he set the blind box store to automatic harvesting mode. Every customer who wants to buy a blind box at the blind box store can only use the vending machine to purchase blind boxes below the legendary level. Of course, he still has a little selfish motive. These cheap customers must not be neglected. Here, there is no prop such as the magic door that can move against the will of heaven. Mo Lin took the plane, then the ship, and then the carriage, and finally arrived at the NGL area. Da-da-da. In the dense forest, according to the information about the Chimera Ants provided by Kate, Mo Lin quickly moved towards the Chimera Ant's nest. Call out a green bird flew across the sky, attracting Mo Lin's attention. That's Corridor. Mo Lin followed the direction where Corridor was flying and saw a cave entrance not far away with several Chimera Ants stationed there. That should be where the Queen Ant is. After entering the NGL area, Mo Lin discovered that many Chimera Ants gathered in groups of 2 or 3, attacking human cities and occupying territories. The Chimera Ants throughout the NGL are slaughtering humans in a completely unorganized and undisciplined manner. Plus, Corridor looked anxious just now. Mo Lin knows. The Ant King is born. The Queen Ant is dying. Everything is messed up because of his existence. Da-da-da. Mo Lin quickened his pace. He wanted to find the Queen Ant and ask her the truth about the Chimera Ants coming to the human world. The Queen Ant must know something. Arriving at the entrance of the cave where Corridor had just flown out, Mo Lin activated God's alibi and sneaked into the cave. Inside the cave, the mutilated Queen Ant was lying on the ground, with 3 Chimera Ants standing beside her who were loyal to the Queen. Division Commander, Ox-shaped Chimera Ant, died in a flood. Division Commander Bear Chimera Ant Captain of the troops, Koala Chimera Ant. The 3 of them guarded the Queen's body and waited for Corridor's return. Do you think the Queen will die? The little bear Chimera Ant couldn't bear to look at the Queen in front of him. For these Chimera Ants who are loyal to the Queen, staying by her side is their mission. I don't know. Corridor went to seek help from humans. I just hope the Queen can survive. Hong Bai sighed. The Ant King is not like the Queen and doesn't care about the lives of the Chimera Ants below. This is also the reason why these division commanders chose to leave. Mo Lin looked at the fallen Queen Ant, removed the God's alibi, and appeared in front of the 3 Chimera Ants. Everyone! I'm here to save your Queen. What's going on? A lively person appeared in front of the 3 ants. Hong Bai looked at Mo Lin warily, and the little bear beside him also took a fighting stance. Who are you? Where's Corridor? Hong Bai raised his hooves, ready to fight. Corridor did not come back, and a human appeared beside me silently. So weird. Mo Lin looked at the 3 Chimera Ants that were hostile to him and sighed helplessly. His eyes were fixed, and his domineering aura was activated. 3 terrifying spirits rushed towards the 3 Chimera Ants. Buzz! The oppressive feeling of death surged up from their hearts, and the 3 Chimera Ants stood there, unable to move. A few drops of cold sweat appeared on my forehead. A brief confrontation made the 3 Chimera Ants realize that the human in front of them could be crushed to death just like stepping on a small ant. Seeing that the 3 little ants were frightened, Mo Lin walked straight towards the Queen Ant behind the 3 ants. The Queen Ant, with only half of her body left on the ground, was already breathing very weakly. Mo Lin squatted beside the Queen Ant, took out a magic bean from the system space, and stuffed it into the Queen Ant's mouthparts. Ah! The Queen Ant, who was originally unconscious, suddenly let out a shrill wail. Seeing the Queen Ant's appearance, Hong Bai wanted to rush forward. What did you feed the Queen Ant? Calm down, Hong Bai, look at the lower half of the Queen Ant. A small claw blocked Hong Bai's body, and the little bear Chimera Ant watched helplessly as new flesh and blood began to grow on the Queen's broken body. The vitality, like a candle in the wind, began to grow vigorously. In just a few breaths, the queen ant came back to life again. It's done. Mo Lin sighed softly after seeing the queen ant open her eyes. The queen. The queen. Recovered. Oh my god. That's amazing. Mo Lin's magic move made the 3 chimera ants present marvel at his moves. You, who are you? When the queen opened her eyes, she saw Mo Lin at first sight. In her hazy consciousness, she knew that it was the human in front of her who saved her. However, the queen ant, who has lived in the dark continent since birth, understands one thing: there is no help without reason in this world. Moreover, the energy in the body of this human being in front of him was as turbulent as the waves on the sea. Powerful. There are no words to describe him anymore. It's so easy to pinch yourself to death. I came here to know only one thing. How did you get here from the other side of the sea? Mo Lin went straight to the point. Hearing these words, the queen ant's body trembled slightly, and a hazy black shadow began to emerge in her mind. She looked at the 3 chimera ants and ordered, "Get out." After the queen ant learned of Mo Lin's intention, she sent away a few chimera ants and told them how she came to the human world. She had always kept the matter of the dark continent in her heart. It was a vague black shadow that threw the injured me into the human sea. That day, I was in the nest of chimera ants, enjoying the food brought to me by soldier ants. Suddenly a fire demon bear found my nest and started to hunt the chimera ants like crazy. Speaking of this, the queen ant recalled the bloody history of the chimera ant race in the dark continent. Chimera ants, which are at the bottom of the food chain, are simply unable to hunt powerful creatures for genetic optimization. The chimera ant's only purpose is to serve as food. The queen ant continued. Just when I thought I was going to die, a strong wind came and blew up the entire ant nest. I was blown up by the strong wind, and in the dimness I saw a dark shadow guiding the strong wind. I clearly heard a voice coming from the shadow. The queen ant remembered the words that the black shadow kept repeating. Good material. Really good material. Chapter 77. Black Shadow? Good material? After listening to the queen ant's description, Mo Lin couldn't help but frown. It seems that the water that the ants brought to the human world is much deeper than imagined. Bite the system prompt sounded, and the task The Mystery of the Ant Queen had been completed by 80%. We finally have a guess as to why the queen ant came to the human world from the dark continent. A mysterious being in the dark continent rescued the queen ant from the fire demon bear and sent her to the human world as an experimental subject. What will happen to the remaining 20%? The queen ant at the side saw Mo Lin's confusion, and seemed to have thought of something, and spoke slowly. I left something I brought back from the dark continent to the Ant King. It was given to me by the Black Shadow. That's a red scale, embedded in the back of the Ant King's neck. The queen ant finally spoke out the secret that was buried in her heart. She could sense that Mo Lin in front of her had a mysterious obsession with the affairs of the dark continent. Besides, he saved himself. Saved another fetus in the womb. Boom boom boom. Just as Mo Lin was thinking, a dense and dull sound of footsteps came from outside the cave. Is Corridor back? Hong Bai saw the entrance of the cave and saw Corridor leading a group of humans running into the cave. Quick! The human medical team is here. Where's Her Majesty the Queen? Corridor. Be quiet, Her Majesty the Queen has recovered. Hong Bai reminded in a low voice. Recovered. Mo Lao and Netero, who were standing behind Corridor, couldn't help but frown when they heard that the queen ant had recovered. What's going on? It's a human. The queen asked us to come out. She is chatting with that human. Human? After hearing the news, Mo Lao and Netero looked at each other, and then looked towards the cave together. A human saved the queen ant? Who could it be? Inside the cave, Mo Lin heard the noise and realized that it was Corridor who brought the human medical team to rescue the queen. He didn't want to meet anyone else, so after saying goodbye to the queen ant, he flew out of the cave to look for the Ant King. Looking at Mo Lin's receding back, the queen ant still felt a palpitation in her heart. She had never seen a human with such vigorous vitality, even surpassing many creatures she had seen in the Dark Continent. Ant King, I hope you are safe. Here, in NGL territory. The chimera ants that left their queen began to run rampant in the human world. The dying queen was no longer worthy of their loyalty, and the cold-bloodedness of the Ant King made them choose to stay away. The chimera ants, who were once soldiers, now set out on their own journey to become kings. And the king came to the Republic of East Godo. The first thing the king did when he arrived in the Republic of Dongguota was to clean up the entire country. Here, the king once again ate the delicious human beings, Nan. He opened his mouth wide and devoured the flesh and blood of the Nan piece by piece. He. Yes. That's the taste. The Ant King, who had eaten the flesh and blood, had blood flowing from the corners of his mouth, his face was ferocious, his arms were open, and his fists were clenched. The power in the body seemed to surge out. It's coming. It's coming. It's pouring out. Ha 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 ha, my whole body is filled with strength. Beside the Ant King, the king's most loyal guard, Nephibito, opened his eyes wide when he saw the power surging from the king. I see. This is the power of the king. Eat the special human's chi and turn it into your own chi. In other words, the more you eat, the stronger you become. Because of this ability, the Ant King is rated as a BN threat. For a time, the entire East Kyoto Republic became the Ant King's meal. Within just a few days after birth, the Ant King's strength increased like a rocket and was out of control. Outside the main hall of the royal palace of the kingdom of Dongguochuo, the Ant King stood in the place with the widest view in the entire country and overlooked the entire Dongguochuo. The 3 guards surrounded the Ant King, waiting quietly. What a beautiful view! The space is huge. I want to use this place as the Meat Tree Kingdom, as a human processing site. The biological instinct prompts the Ant King to devour human energy and become stronger. Dongguota was his first step. Dong Dong. Just as the Ant King was admiring the beauty of Dongguota, a human figure was walking towards him. The person who came was Mo Lin. He seemed to be getting closer. Boom! The Ant King jumped up and clenched his right fist to attack his opponent. What a level! Walking in the air in front of me, the Ant King. However, when he was fighting with the man in front of him, he actually retreated 3 points. The human in front of him had much stronger punching power than himself. Interesting. It's so interesting. The Ant King, who was at a disadvantage in the fight, retreated to the platform and looked at Mo Lin with an amused expression. This human's physical energy is 10,000 times stronger than the strongest human ever seen. The overwhelming vitality aroused the Ant King's desire to eat. It's delicious. The Ant King muttered. However, the king's 3 guards beside him looked at the newcomer warily, as their duty as guards was to protect the king. Who are you? After saying this, Nephibit charged forward and attacked Mo Linear Boom. A green tail strike pushed Nephibito's head directly to the ground, and gravel flew everywhere where the impact occurred. What are you going to do with my food? The Ant King's voice was cold. Nephibito once again took action without his consent. Do you think I will be hurt by the other party? Ridiculous. Nephibito fell to the ground, smiling painfully and apologizing to the Ant King. I'm sorry, King. The Ant King looked at Mo Lin again, and the coldness on his face turned into fanaticism. He licked his lips from time to time. Too powerful. There is actually someone like you among humans. After eating you, I will definitely become stronger. The scene before him made Mo Lin a little confused. No, look at that Catwoman, she looks indifferent, but look at me, I look enthusiastic. I seriously doubt your sexual orientation. Mo Lin. I just want to take away the scales from the Ant King. You will make me misunderstand me if you talk like this. Also, why are you fighting against your own people? Is the Chimera Ant so chaotic inside? Mo Lin didn't want to get entangled with it. All he wanted to do now was to complete the task. It seems that we can't reach an agreement. Mo Lin's life motto is to be able to do something but not save the baby. Besides, he also wanted to test the level of his own strength. World Buzz. A golden humanoid muscular giant emerged from behind Mo Lin. In the stand-in world, the time stop is activated first. Time stops at this moment. At the moment it stopped, a strange feeling surged into the Ant King's heart. Completion. Out of biological instinct, he mobilized all the energy in his body to protect his body. Time stop begins. What the Ant King imagined did not happen, but Mo Lin walked behind him. A small hand quietly climbed up from the back to the neck, the Ant King felt his lower body tighten and a chill run down his spine. Chapter 78. Mo Lin traced the Ant King's neck and felt a hard lump in the center. The scales, smaller than the little fingernail, were completely embedded in the Ant King's skin, with only a few spots of bloody red exposed in the air. Is this the scale? Mo Lin thought to himself. Along the way, the index finger of his right hand turned black, and the sharp nails scratched the green skin. Ka! A spark passed by, but the skin was not hurt at all. What a tough skin! Mo Lin exclaimed. While hesitating, the 9 seconds were up. The world started to function normally. The Ant King felt extremely insulted at this moment. As a king, he was actually being toyed with by a human so wantonly. It's an insult to the king's dignity. Boom! A black and majestic air surged out from the Ant King's body. The Ant King, who was at the top of the food chain, completely released the terrifying aura hidden in his body. Damn humans! Ant King, the supreme ruler of the Chimera Ant clan, the king of the Chimera Ants. At the top of the pyramid among the entire Chimera Ant tribe. His talent, racial value, and strength are all top-notch. At this moment, under Mo Lin's humiliation, he fully revealed his resentment. Boom! One punch breaks the wind. The wind from his fist carried the surrounding air and shattered the hall behind him. A casual blow can have the power to destroy the world. This is the king of the Chimera Ants. The Ant King launched an attack, swinging his fists rapidly, with countless fists swinging towards Mo Lin's face. Mo Lin looked at the frustrated Ant King and sighed helplessly. He didn't expect that just scratching the back of the Ant King's neck would make him so furious. Facing the Ant King, Mo Lin was also hiding. Strength. Full firepower. Wanja Blind Box Store Manager Mo Lin is here. Armament Haki Ryu Sakura. World, attack. For a moment, Mo Lin used Armament Haki to harden his fists, Ryuo Haki, an advanced application of Armament Haki. At the same time, it is given to the world's fists. The Ant King has one pair of fists against Mo Lin's 4 hands. The power of the close-range power stand is fully demonstrated at this moment. The world has never punched so happily. The more fists the Ant King punches, the more excited the world becomes. The two sides fought fiercely for a while. The Ant King looked at the world substitute behind Mo Lin with a troubled expression, looking for an opportunity to defeat the enemy. This battle is no longer something the 3 guards can intervene in. The 3 wanted to attack Mo Lin, but they couldn't even break Mo Lin's fist. Mo Lin, who was able to fight the Ant King to a standstill, has transcended the human level. So strong. In the battles between top experts, fancy moves have been abandoned, and the attack is based entirely on finding flaws and attacking them. Boom boom boom. The Ant King was excited. I didn't expect there would be someone as strong as you among humans. Please me as much as you can. During the prolonged confrontation, the Ant King's mentality also changed. He forgot about Mo Lin's offense, and now the hormones in his body have occupied his brain. This kind of battle between strong men made him feel extremely excited. From the moment he was born, the Ant King had a feeling of loneliness. He is so powerful. So powerful that he ignores everything around him. His talent is too strong. As long as you eat nutritious food, you can take his strength for yourself. The strong are lonely. But the appearance of Mo Lin aroused his desire to fight. The strong people respect each other. On the other hand, Mo Lin on the opposite side frowned and looked at the Ant King with a silly smile in confusion. Isn't he going to get stupid? Mo Lin thought to himself. After 5 minutes of fighting, Mo Lin had a rough idea of the Ant King's strength. With the support of primary immortal body and cultivated Nen and 3-color domineering mastery and substitute world, he could only fight a tie with the current Ant King. How powerful! No wonder the old Netero was defeated by the King of Ants in one blow. The Ant King was a creature that made Mo Lin realize for the first time how weak individual humans are. Even the strongest man like Netero was defeated by the Ant King. How terrifying is the Dark Continent? Mo Lin doesn't know. He now urgently needs to remove the scales from the Ant King's neck to complete the task and obtain blind box points. This is the limit of my strength. Ant King, to show my respect to you, I am going to wear equipment, said Mo Lin. 3-phase power, 2 bonuses. Boom! Multiplied attributes are bestowed upon Mo Lin's body. 2 pieces of 3-phase power. Plus 50% attack speed, plus 50 spell power, plus 50 mana, plus 50 armor, plus 50 magic resistance, plus 500 health. The strength is directly doubled. Bang! In an instant, Mo Lin's punch doubled in strength. There was a click. The Ant King who was fighting with him broke his wrist bones. Ant King. Nafibit rushed forward, and the sharp claws in his hands were about to attack Mo Lin's neck. The other 2 guards, Shiapoof, flew to the Ant King, and Menthuthweopi moved behind Mo Lin and swung his fists to attack Mo Lin's chassis. Mo Lin shouted coldly, "Get lost!" The red domineering aura materialized, and Mo Lin's spirit turned into a sharp sword blade and slashed at the Nephibitos and Menthuthweopi who were besieging him. Wow! Blood sprayed in the air, and Nephibito looked at Mo Lin in disbelief. The gap in strength is too big. Before the opponent even made a move, he had already lost his ability to fight. Who is he? There are actually strong people of this level among humans. Boom! The powerful domineering aura made the three guards lose their combat effectiveness. Only the Ant King, with his iron body, was able to withstand Mo Lin's domineering aura. "Ant King, I don't want to kill you, I just need the thing behind your neck." Mo Lin looked at the Ant King indifferently and walked towards him slowly. The outcome of this battle was obvious. Mo Lin was unilaterally crushing the Ant King. The Ant King, who once looked down upon the world with his dominance, remained silent under the crushing pressure of hard power. He let Mo Lin dig out a piece of flesh from the back of his neck and didn't dare to say a word until he left. Mo Lin is gone. The Ant King leaned against the pillar of the hall with a look of loss on his face. The feeling of being close to death when his life was threatened made his heart palpitate. This is the most intuitive manifestation of a living thing when facing death. After surviving the disaster, the shadow lingers. I want to eat more special humans. I want to become stronger. Eat more humans. The Ant King gritted his teeth and stared ferociously at the ordinary humans who were kept in captivity in a corner of the palace. Those humans whom he originally didn't want to eat. At this moment, biting like crazy. Blood, flesh, and bones were scattered everywhere on the ground. Power, I want power. Here, Mo Lin after getting the scales. The pieces of meat covered with scales were removed. The scales, which were as big as a little finger, emitted a gem-red glow. Is this scale the scale of a mysterious creature? What is the significance of this scale on the Queen Ant's body? Mo Lin tried to wrap the scales with chi, slowly penetrating into them. Boom! A huge mental force came from the scales, stinging Mo Lin's brain. Many intermittent images appeared in Mo Lin's mind. Chapter 79. A black shadow about a kilometer long. The whole body is covered with scarlet scales. And endless mountains. In the center of the mountains, a towering tree holds up the sky. On the trunks of the giant trees, there are actually buildings and some human figures. For a moment, Mo Lin was completely immersed in the sporadic images that appeared in his mind. A world he had never seen before him stood completely before his eyes. After a while, Mo Lin came out of the picture in his mind. The scales did not provide any useful information about the Queen Ant's arrival in the human world. However, Mo Lin already had a guess in his mind. There may be humans in the Dark Continent. So what is the relationship between the human world we live in now and the humans in the Dark Continent? Is it a test of the human world by intelligent creatures? But what does that material mean? More and more information filled Mo Lin's brain, but the messy information could not be strung together into a complete information chain, which made Mo Lin very annoyed. He sighed softly. The only way to know the truth of this matter is to go to the Dark Continent. System, bring up the task panel. Unable to find more useful information, the only thing to do is to apply to the system for task settlement. Byte Mystery of the Ant Queen mission completion rate is 90%. Task evaluation, congratulations to the host for completing the task brilliantly. You have done your best to string together all the information you could get to form a relatively clear answer. The arrival of the Queen Ants in the human world was an intentional act by some intelligent creatures on the Dark Continent. This incident seems to involve the human beings in the Dark Continent. Task status, completed. Task reward, 45,000 blind box points. Seeing the evaluation given by the system, Mo Lin breathed a sigh of relief. This trip was not in vain. 45,000 blind box points are well worth the effort. Next step, go home. Mo Lin's trip to NGL brought life back to the Queen Ant who was supposed to be dead. The arrogant Ant King also had a great change in his mood because of Mo Lin's appearance. Inside the Queen Ant's nest, Netero, Mo Lau, the Queen Ant, and several Chimera Ant division leaders looked at each other in bewilderment. The lively Queen Ant can be a big trouble for Netero. Queen Ant, are you saying that a young human male fed you a pill and restored your health? Netero asked, looking at the Ant Queen's healthy and radiant body. Yes, President Netero. Since Mo Lin left the cave, Netero has led people to control the Queen Ant and the leader of the Chimera Ant division. The queen ant was very afraid of the squinty-eyed old man with a grey beard in front of her. The aura that this human unintentionally exuded was no weaker than that of the young man just now. The queen ant can feel it. As long as you have the idea of resisting, killing the other person and escaping, in the next second, he might die on the spot. She didn't dare to act rashly and could only stay in front of Netero. Don't think about yourself, but also think about the baby in your belly. After listening to the queen ant's words, Netero thought of an object and a person. The pill that brings the ant queen back to life should be the magic bean. That young man is probably the store manager Mo Lin. What did manager Mo Lin just talk about with the queen ant in the cave? Netero was extremely curious. From the moment he met the queen ant, he tried to ask her questions intentionally or unintentionally, wanting to know what the conversation had just happened. However, the queen ant is very tight-lipped and keeps silent when it comes to this issue. This is such a difficult situation. Well, Netero sighed softly and looked at the queen ant's abdomen. He could feel that there was still a life beating there. Queen ant. I'm afraid you have to come with me. We won't let you stay in NGL anymore. Please forgive me. As he spoke, Netero released a little bit of chi in his body. In an instant, several chimera ants, including the queen ant, felt the breath of death. They were breathing rapidly and their faces were flushed. The fear brought by Netero, the strongest man in the human race, was deeply imprinted in the minds of several people. The queen ant was about to say something more when she heard Netero speak slowly. Queen ant, you don't want the other baby in your belly to die, do you? Another child? In addition to the ant king, there is actually a child in the queen ant's belly? Mo Lin, who was wearing small sunglasses, couldn't help but frown and look at the queen ant. Corridor, who was beside him, took 2 steps back in surprise and stood in front of the queen ant to protect her. Buzz. On the other hand, the queen ant's head seemed to be about to explode. She slowly lowered her head and said something helplessly. Good. The queen ant didn't have the slightest thought of resisting. With Mo Lin in front and Netero behind, these two people give the queen ant a feeling that their strength is unfathomable. Even the energy in its body is several times that of a newborn ant king. She gave in, lowered her head, and followed Netero to the human world. On the way to escort the queen ant, Netero left a message to the Group NGL Exploration Team on the purchase card. Group NGL Exploration Team, Netero, everyone, I have something to do and I have to leave NGL for a few days. If you are defeated, please leave immediately. Mo Lin's departure affected Netero and the Ant King. After the battle with Mo Lin, the proud Ant King felt greatly humiliated. As the king of the Chimera Ants, he was severely humiliated by a human in front of his own subordinates. He can't stand it. Face is one thing, but more importantly, the Ant King felt his life was threatened. The feeling of being close to death lingered in my mind for a long time. After Mo Lin left, the Ant King began to pray frantically. All humans, regardless of whether they have special energy in their bodies or not, become food in his mouth. In the royal palace of the kingdom of Donggudo, the Ant King was in the inner hall. In the spacious inner hall, there was a small mountain of human flesh made of flesh, bones and blood, which almost reached the roof of the hall. In front of the hill of human flesh, the Ant King squatted there, grabbing piece of flesh and blood after piece, stuffing it into his mouth, chewing it with big mouthfuls. High-end ingredients often only require simple processing. In a short while, the entire mountain of human flesh was eaten up by the Ant King. Then, Nephibito ordered the Chimera Ant soldiers to send in more and more humans. The door of the inner hall was filled with people coming in and out, never stopping. The king's 3 guards stood outside the hall, directing the Chimera Ant soldiers to slit the throats and let the blood out of rows of freshly captured humans. Wang has been eating for 2 days. Will there be any problems if this continues? Menthuthweopi has been busy for the past 2 days. He took the remaining Chimera Ant soldiers and swept through the country's towns one by one to capture the humans. The number is too numerous to count. Why worry? The more the king eats, the stronger he becomes. That human brought great changes to the king. Unlike Menthuthweopi's worries, Nephibito was excited to see the king was so motivated. As long as the king wants, she would even offer herself. While the 3 were chatting, the voice of the Ant King suddenly came from the hall. You 3, come in, I have something to say. The Ant King has been eating for 2 days without saying a word, and now he's asking the 3 of us to go in? What's the matter? Chapter 80. In the inner hall, the Ant King stopped eating and sat on a bench in the hall. The 3 guards of the direct escort team stood respectfully in front of the Ant King, waiting for the next instruction from the Ant King. The Ant King looked at the 3 guards in front of him, feeling the vigorous chi in his body. 2 days. He had eaten at least tens of thousands of human corpses, and the special energy contained in the flesh and blood of these humans was almost pitifully small. The chi in his body simply couldn't meet his requirements. There is still a big gap between the strength that Mo Lin showed before. I need lots of nutritious food. The Ant King thought to himself, staring at the 3 guards with a ferocious face. There are too few humans with special energy, and it takes too much time to capture such humans. There is one species that provides a large amount of nutritious flesh and blood. Those chimera ants who have learned to read. The 3 guards in front of him had much more powerful chi in their bodies than tens of thousands of ordinary humans combined. The 3 guards are his direct subordinates, and there are many things that still need them to do. Those chimera ant division captains are very nutritious food. The Queen Ant murmured. 2 days of eating made him think a lot. In this world, only powerful force can give him a sense of security. The obsession with power has taken over his mind. He has decided. By targeting all the chimera ant division leaders and eating them, you can achieve a qualitative leap in strength. Of course, there is also the Queen Ant's corpse, which is a very nutritious food. Nefibito, notify all the chimera ant division commanders in NGL to capture humans and send them here. Anyone who dares to resist will be killed on the spot. I want to integrate all the chimera ants and attack the human world. I need more nutrition. Ha 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 ha! The Ant King opened his arms and laughed arrogantly. The chi that surged out of his body swept the entire hall crazily. The spirit of being a king is back. The 3 guards were excited when they saw the Ant King regain his spirits. This time it's the king of the chimera ants. This time it's the spirit of the Ant King. I am the only one in the world. Yes, sir. Nefibito and Menthuthweopi immediately rushed throughout the NGL area, relying on the chimera ant's sensing of the chimera ant's aura and the circle technique in Nen. Within 2 days, the 2 of them found most of the chimera ant division leaders. At the NGL coastline, in a cave on a cliff facing the sea, Brabuta, the leader of the shrimp-shaped chimera ant division, looked at the Nephibitos in front of him, his legs trembling slightly. The octopus chimera ant queen division leader who was kneeling on the ground beside her kept swallowing her saliva, while the alligator chimera ant division leader had stiff limbs and didn't dare to breathe. And with a smile on his face, Nephibit had already placed his right hand on Brabuta's shoulder, and the pressure was increasing little by little. Brabuta, what did you just say? I didn't hear you clearly. She exuded a terrifying black aura, and a feeling of death surged from Brabuta's body. Even if this pressure was not directed at the octopus and alligator division commanders, but I still feel waves of fear in my heart. Powerful. So strong. The 3 division commanders had only one feeling: it is easier for Nephibito to crush himself than to crush an ant. Brobta's shoulder bone was crushed, and then Nephibito slashed Brobta's head with his sharp claws. Boom! A lobster head fell quietly to the ground, and blue blood gushed out from its neck like a small fountain. If Brabuta had an inner monologue. Right. I really regret it now. When the Nephibito Legion commander asked me whether I wanted freedom or loyalty to the Ant King, I actually hesitated. When the 2 old men beside me saw me hesitating, they suddenly knelt on the ground and shouted their allegiance to the Ant King. Brabuta, no, buddy. Act now. Who can outperform you 2? Goodbye. Queen Ant. Brabuta is offline. You 2, wrap up his body and have the other chimera ants deliver it to the Ant King. Your mission is to capture more humans and present them to the Ant King. Hurry up. After giving his instructions, Nephibito turned around and left, heading for the next camp of the chimera ant division leader. Looking at the Nephibitos going away, the octopus division commander breathed a sigh of relief. It's so scary. We are so close to meeting the Queen Ant. Octopus, tell me, why did the Ant King suddenly change his mind? When he left, he didn't even bother to take any division commander with him. The alligator chimera ant is puzzled. Why bother with so much? Let's just go and catch the humans. The Ant King is not like the Queen Ant. He is moody. Let's just follow his will. There are many division commanders who are as sensible as the octopus division commander and the alligator division commander. What's more, he was as excited as Nephibito. After hearing the news that the Ant King wanted to reorganize the chimera ants to attack the human world, Lion Division Captain Laolu was in a completely excited state. He and his corps commanders immediately launched a plan to hunt humans. For a moment, except for the Eagle-type Division Commander Cordo, the Bull-type Chimera Ant Division Commander Hongbai, the Bear Chimera Ant Division Commander, and the dead Zazan and Brabuda. All the remaining division commanders began to hunt down humans in NGL in an organized and planned manner. This time, apart from the villages within NGL, we began to move towards the surrounding cities. In less than a day, towns were captured and division commanders hunted humans at will. Humans who practice mind and those who have mind in their bodies are given special attention. Catch him alive and bring him to the Ant King. A steady stream of human corpses and living people were sent to the royal palace of the East Gochuo Republic by the Chimera Ant Division commanders. For a moment, the territory of NGL was like hell on earth. Inside the palace, the Ant King sent humans with chi in their bodies into his stomach one by one. The power is pouring out continuously. Not enough. Not enough. Still not enough. I want more humans. Nephi Beto, go get me more nutritious humans. Because the Chimera Ant army purposefully hunts humans on a large scale, and even wants to cross the NGL border to attack neighboring countries. This behavior has touched V5's bottom line. A large number of troops began to press on, and several of the 12 earthly branches were also sent to NGL. In NGL territory, members of the NGL exploration team were secretly fighting guerrilla warfare and frantically hunting Chimera Ants. Hisoka and Illumi went completely crazy. Hunting low-level Chimera Ants was no longer enough for the two of them. Deep in the forest, Hisoka stood on the trunk of a big tree, looking at the Chimera Ants that were controlled by the 5 colored threads and killing each other. A wicked smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He looked at the long army of Chimera Ants in the distance, led by 2 division commanders. Lialai and Geo. Chapter 81. Deep in the jungle, there is a large army of Chimera Ants. The mighty army of Chimera Ants escorted a large number of humans to the royal palace of the Republic of East Godo. Over the past few days, Lialu and Kiddo have led a large number of Chimera Ant soldiers to conduct a carpet-style capture of humans within the NGL territory. Great results! Etc. Kiddo, who was at the lead of the large army, suddenly smelled a faint smell of blood. As a leopard-type Chimera Ant, Kiddo's 5 senses are quite sharp. The faint smell of blood in the air rushed straight into his nostrils. What is certain is that the smell of blood comes from the Chimera Ant soldiers. What's going on, Kiddo? Lialu asked puzzledly. There Kiddo noticed something and pointed his finger at the woods not far away. Among them, there was a burst of dense footsteps, and even the weeds on the ground were shaken. Boom! Several dark shadows emerged from the bushes and rushed straight towards the large group of Chimera Ants led by Laolu. Lamato and Hollow, Geo and Lilu recognized the 2 figures at the head at a glance. The captain of the Corridor squad, a Chimera Ant that is a hybrid of a shrike and a rabbit, Raimuto. Captain of the Mere One squad, the owl-shaped Chimera Ant, Hollow. The 2 men had terrified expressions, their limbs were stiff, and they kept muttering, "Save me, save me." The several Chimera Ant soldiers following behind them were the same as the 2 of them. Boom boom boom. Kiddo looked at the Chimera Ants rushing towards him, and with a quick step, he flew behind them. The leopard claw on his right hand curled into a hand knife and chopped at the back of the necks of several Chimera Ants. Bang! After several consecutive knife strikes, Raimuto, Hollow, and several other Chimera Ants lost consciousness and fell asleep. Ka! Before Kiddo could breathe a sigh of relief, Lamato and Hollow, who had fainted, suddenly stood up, stretched out their sharp claws and headed for Kiddo's neck. What's going on? Geo muttered softly. The situation changed too quickly, and the several Chimera Ants that fell to the ground attacked Kiddo again at the same time. Kiddo looked at several Chimera Ants that were unconscious but attacked him out of character. He gathered energy in his right fist and mobilized the body's telekinesis, like a ghost. In an instant, the heads of several Chimera Ants were blown up. There is a strict hierarchy within the Chimera Ants. The level represents not only the difference in bloodline, but also the division of strength. It is easier for a division commander level Chimera Ant to kill captains and soldiers than to crush ants. Kichu, use condensation to wrap most of the chi in your body around your eyes, and you will be able to see what they have. Lilu, who was watching the battle from the side, noticed the unusual behavior of several Chimera Ants from Raimuto. It felt like they were being controlled by something. This ability is very similar to that of the Nephi Beto Legion leader, as he focuses more and more of his energy on his eyes. Sure enough, several thin transparent silk threads were seen on Raimudo's body. Following Liulu's instructions, Kiddo saw the transparent silk thread wrapped around the corpse. Interesting. Someone is hunting us. Kiddo followed the direction of the silk thread and looked towards a tall tree in the grass. Nan's circle skills, coupled with the cheetah's own keen perception, in Gio's perception, a vague human figure was standing on the main trunk of the tree. Liulu. Looks like we are being targeted. Keep an eye on him. This human is really brave. Liulu followed the direction of Gio's finger and also noticed the presence of a human figure on the tree trunk. Kichu, this human has the most chi in his body that I have ever seen. It is even more vigorous than the humans we met before. Liulu raised the corner of his mouth and looked at the figure high up with excitement. During this period of time, he secretly ate the captured humans who still had special energy in their bodies. Every time he eats such a human, the chi in his body becomes stronger. Now, among all the Chimera Ant Division commanders, perhaps none is as powerful as him. He had a feeling that if he ate some more humans with large amounts of chi in their bodies, he would be able to complete the evolution of his bloodline. It is only a matter of time before he evolves from a division commander to a corps commander. Gio, let's go catch that prey and present it to the Ant King. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Kiddo quickened his pace, his body turned into a shadow, and moved quickly towards the direction of the figure. Liulu bent his legs and leaped forward. The huge recoil force sent him in front of the tree. The two of them rushed towards the figure in the tree. Hisoka stood on the tree trunk, looking at everything in front of him with interest. From the soldiers who just controlled the Chimera Ants to attack the Chimera Ant troops, to now standing here waiting for the other side to attack. He was not panicked at all, but full of excitement. These powerful Chimera Ants are his best prey. This is a perfect world without any restraints, only blood and fighting. Sure enough, come out. Use the back fist. Hisoka calmly pulled out a red and white pokeball from his pocket and threw it into the air. A blue figure flew out, Sanasi. Counter punch launch. With his whole body shining with colorful light, Quaranong blocked the attacks of Kiddo and Liulu. Boom! The two attackers were knocked back several meters by the double attack from Guo Ranwing. Sure enough, Ong was standing at the bottom of the tree confronting Kiddo and Liuli, while Hisoka was standing on the top of the tree. Dozens of transparent parasitic threads were spread in the air, falling like a meteor shower and piercing into the army of Chimera Ants that had surrounded them. The battle is about to begin. Boom! Not far from the battlefield where Hisoka, Kiddo, and Liulu were fighting, there was a huge explosion. A large figure several meters tall threw an explosive punch towards the ground. Menthuthwiopi, one of the three guards under the Chimera Ant King, is hunting Ilmi. Run! Run! Ilmi swung the blade in his hand continuously at the army of Chimera Ants following closely behind him. Be honest. Completely honest. Like Hisoka, Ilmi has been hunting down hordes of Chimera Ants. As a killer, Ilmi is very proficient in the assassination business, and he follows the principle of running away if he can't win. He also earned the title of Night Ghost in the NGL area. However, no matter how skilled the assassination technique was, it could not defeat the deliberate encirclement of a huge army. Menthuthwiopi led the team himself, with Nephibito assisting, and took Melee on to guard Ilmi. God's alibi completely concealed his existence and finally found Ilmi. With the idea of running away if he couldn't win, Ilmi used all the items he brought from home. Move around the terrain, using the traversal rings to travel between the mountains. Swimming powder is used on the body and drilled into the ground. No matter how he escaped, the Nephibitos behind him could always sense the presence of Illumi. While running all the way, Ilmi suddenly heard a familiar voice. Date. Chapter 82. Ilmi, who was running all the way, suddenly stopped. A familiar voice reached my ears. It's really true. The 6 mission members of the NGL exploration team are scattered across NGL and have no contact with each other. The entire NGL has been completely occupied by Chimera Ant soldiers. The members of the team basically work on their own, hunting down Chimera Ants and completing the mission. I didn't expect to meet Hisoka and Renrenweng here. One of the 3 greatest joys in life is meeting an old friend in a foreign place. Although he and Hisoka may not be considered old friends, he and Renran are. He's there. A resounding voice pierced through the air and brought Ilmi's thoughts back to reality. Nephibito, who was standing on the treetop, pointed at the direction where Ilmi was and shouted. Ilmi looked behind him and saw countless Chimera Ant pursuers, some running on the ground and some flying in the sky, which had already covered most of the blue sky. It's too much. Run first. Illumi dived into the ground and swam towards Hisoka. Among this group of chimera ants, there was one chimera ant whose power completely exceeded his imagination. Menthuthwiopi is a tall and sturdy man, and with just a single punch he could blow up a mountain. Emiternan's Ilmi really has no way to deal with Menthuthwiopi. Even with the addition of the 1,000 blades of demonic Deo, it was impossible to cause any substantial damage to Menthuthwiopi. He could clearly feel a sense of estrangement between himself and demonic 1,000 blades. This magical weapon clearly contains enormous energy, but Ilmi can mobilize less than 1% of it. As long as Quarren Wang can withstand Menthuthwiopi's attack, he can harvest the remaining chimera ants. With this thought in mind, Illumi swam towards Hisoka and met up with him. Over here, with Hisoka and Goran, it is no problem for one of them to defeat a group of chimera ants. The most difficult ones among them are the division commanders, Gio and Leoru. This lion seems to be much stronger than the leopard next to it. Ever since fusing with the string fruit, Hisoka can clearly feel that his strength has achieved a qualitative leap. The string fruit, an object that does not belong to this world, is slowly merging with the chi in Hisoka's body. The two are in a state of complementing each other. He also developed a method to condense the chi and wrap it around a certain silk thread to increase the hardness of the silk thread. Achieve penetrating effect. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Hisoka changed his strategy, retracted the puppet strings controlling the chimera ant soldiers, and shot out 5 transparent threads again, wrapping his own chi on the threads, especially at the ends of the threads. 5 silk threads, like bullets fired from a gun, pierced through one chimera ant soldier after another. Boom boom boom. Rows of chimera ants fell down like rice being harvested by a sickle. Oh no, Gio thought to himself that it was not good. Hisoka's strength may not be as simple as it seems. There is no chi in those shot threads. Leolu, this human has a power that is not telekinesis. Humans actually have this kind of power. You underestimated this human. The chimera ants judge the strength of humans based entirely on the amount of special energy, or chi, contained in the human body. Before, Leolu and Kido had encountered Kate and others, and had also tried the power of the 6 paths of reincarnation. There are powers in humanity that we are unaware of. Retreat first. Lilo turned around and was about to run, but entrusting his life here is not the creed of me, Lord Lion. If he develops steadily, he will grow into the level of a 3rd guard sooner or later. Hisoka saw that Leolu was trying to escape, so he jumped down from the tree. Boom. A head just popped out of the soil. Why didn't it land? Hisoka looked at the bottom of his feet and saw Illumi staring at him angrily with big eyes. Ilmi. Hisoka hadn't finished speaking yet. Boom! A loud noise was heard from the sky, and Menthuthwiopi in centaur form fell from a high altitude, kicking Hisoka in the middle of the face with its front hooves. Guo Ranwing, launch a counter-punch. Ilmi shouted. Hisoka, hey! The little blue figure opened his arms to protect Hisoka and Illumi, with colorful light flashing on his body. What a thing! How can you overestimate your own abilities? Menthuthwiopi sneered at Quarren Wang, who was about to be kicked down. As a monster-type chimera ant, he possesses the power of transformation, and his strongest form is that of a centaur. A powerful blow from his hooves could even drive through a mountain. Little thing, you can't even take the remains of the corpse. Boom! The 2 hooves landed on the fruit god, and the loud explosion-like sound created a gust of air, overturning all the surrounding trees. Menthuthwiopi looked at Quarren Wang in surprise. This little thing actually blocked his attack. The next second, he saw the determined eyes of the fruit god, and shouted, Sonasi. The double force rebounded onto Menthuthwiopi's body. Boom! It tumbled dozens of times in the air and finally embedded itself into a mountain. That little blue thing is so powerful. It can actually knock Master Menthuthwiopi away. Knock it away, look at the sky. In the sky, Menthuthwiopi, transformed into a birdman, was already hovering over the battlefield. He is very angry now. I was actually tricked by a little guy. Menthuthwiopi, a pure fusion of Warcraft genes, anger is the source of power. He is terribly strong now. Bang! With a punch, he passed through Renrenwang and attacked Hisoka and Ilmi behind him. Completion. Facing Menthuthwiopi's fist, Hisoka felt as if his life was threatened. If you don't do something, you might die on the spot if hit by this punch. There's nothing I can do. The birdcage. It was too late, and Guo Renwang had the chance to counterattack. In an instant, countless silk threads shot out from Hisoka's body, pulling Renan to his side, and wrapped himself, Renan, and Ilmi under his feet with the tough threads. Hisoka transferred all the chi in his body into the silk thread. The semicircular silk thread creates a birdcage that can cover 3 people. Layer upon layer of silk threads, covering the previous layer of silk threads. Save yourself. Deadline, shoot quickly. Boom! He smashed the birdcage with his fist. A layer of silk thread, 2 layers of silk thread, 3-layer silk thread. Shattered by the aftermath of the fist. Hisoka, who was in the birdcage, took most of the damage. It's really over this time. Hisoka felt as if all his internal organs were shaken out of their original positions. Some organs have even ruptured and are bleeding. Stitches. Inside the body, transparent silk threads quietly emerge, pass through the injured internal organs, and suture. He wants to live. The desire to survive completely occupied Hisoka's mind. After one punch, Menthuthweopi stood in front of Hisoka with a look of disdain on his face. Humans are so weak. He turned to look at Gio and Liulu and ordered, escort these 2 humans back to the palace. Okay, Mangtu. Just as Leolu was about to agree, he saw that the land behind Menthuthweopi was slowly becoming linear. The trees, land, and weeds seemed to be turning into lines little by little. Chapter 83. With the big hole punched by Menthuthweopi as the center, the originally soft soil began to transform into white silk threads little by little. The densely packed and wriggling silk threads looked like layers of small white bugs. It began to devour everything around it bit by bit. Soil, weeds, trees. Everything within sight was gradually assimilated by the silk thread. Seeing the sudden change in the situation, the army of chimera ants began to retreat. The chimera ant soldiers who did not have time to retreat fell into the wriggling silk world and lost their lives. What's going on? Menthuthweopi retreated to a distance, looking at the wriggling silk thread, feeling puzzled. These silk threads seemed to have life, ruthlessly devouring everything around them. Was it those 2 humans who did it? Nephibito said. I can't feel any chi in these threads. How weird. Menthuthweopi and Nephibito, the 3 guards of the king, judge the strength of a creature by the amount of chi in the creature's body. This is also the experience summarized from hunting humans. This human is just like the one the Ant King encountered last time. They both used a power that doesn't require telekinesis to activate. Chi is a power that originally exists in living organisms. It is the source of power for all living things. It gave birth to Nen and also created strong people. However, recently, I have encountered more and more humans using unknown abilities that are beyond the scope of mind. The unknown is often scary. Careful. Nephibito felt a sharp murderous aura coming from the wire pit on the ground and shouted loudly. Kiju, Leulu, take the troops and retreat far away. Menthuthweopi and I will deal with these 2 humans. The current battle is no longer one that ordinary chimera ants can participate in. Even for division commanders like Gio and Leulu, it's useless. The troops also need to catch food for the Ant King. The white line of wild waves. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. From the deep pit where Hisoka and Illumi were, several thick white lines emerged from the pit. A fiery red figure rose into the air and leaped into the air. Use both hands to control the white line of Huang Lang. Tens of thousands of transparent white threads were arranged horizontally, forming a raging wave-like attack, surging up from underneath Ibito and gradually moving towards Menthuthweopi in the middle. Eventually, a huge white line of waves shaped like a braid was formed, trapping Menthuthweopi in the line. The awakened state of the string fruit Hisoka the string man is here. Hisoka was suspended in the air, his feet on the white line of Huang Lang, and all 10 fingers were wrapped with white silk threads. Hisoka in the awakened state of the devil fruit, I feel as if I am one with everything around me. I am the line. Everything is line. The huge white line of the waves. A move that turns everything around into lines and hits the opponent like a huge wave, causing damage to a large area. It can also be regarded as an enhanced version of the white line of the wild wave. The ocean and the white waves. The entire ground was transformed into an ocean of rolling and turbulent waves formed by lines, entangling all living things on the sea surface. Thousands of arrows pierce the heart, feather strikes, and lines. Thousands of armed colored threads rise from the ground in the shape of bird wings, surrounding the enemy and piercing their hearts with thousands of arrows. Totally crazy. Hisoka felt a power he had never felt before. The scope of the online world continues to expand during the battle. In the online world, Hisoka is like a god. The attacked Menthuthwiopi was defeated. Hisoka was also the first enemy he found difficult to deal with. He had to be careful of the ground under his feet that had been assimilated into the lines, while also defending against waves of attacks from the air. Damn it! How damn terrible! Menthuthwiopi roared angrily. Hisoka's attacks couldn't really break his defense, but each attack was focused on one point, and this was not a solution. Nephibito, hiding in a tree outside the online world, looked solemn. Apart from the human who had fought with the Ant King before, this was the first time she had encountered such a powerful human. What on earth are these lines about? Why can't I sense any presence of chi? Call out. Nephibito started and jumped onto the battlefield. She had already discovered that Hisoka's attack could not cause any substantial damage to Menthuthwiopi. It's time to join the battlefield and harvest the enemies. The entrance of Nephibito has more meanings in the eyes of the Chimera Ant army. Lialu, this opponent seems to be quite difficult. Kid looked at the line world that had assimilated more than half of the forest, his tone heavy. This opponent is more difficult than the humans we encountered before. If we are not careful, we will be dragged into the line. What are you afraid of? Even though that human is powerful, you can see that he didn't cause any substantial damage to Master Menthuthwiopi. You probably don't understand the value of the King's 3 guards. Speaking of the King's 3 guards, Leulu felt an inexplicable sense of pride in his heart. The bloodline hierarchy system within the Chimera Ants almost blocks the channels for the lower level Chimera Ants to rise. What level of Chimera Ant you are is determined the moment you are born. However, Leulu discovered a way to go against the will of heaven. He could increase his strength by eating nutritious humans. As long as they eat more, sooner or later they will be able to cross bloodlines and grow into a Chimera Ant at the level of a direct guard team. Just watch carefully. That human won't be able to jump around for long. The center of the battlefield, with the addition of Nephibit, the balance of victory in this war gradually tilted towards the Chimera Ants. After the awakening of the string fruit, Hisoka's strength increased exponentially. It can even change the terrain and entangle the opponent. However, the defenses of Menthuthwiopi and Nephibito, who were at the level of the Chimera Ants' direct guards, were too strong. The silk thread cannot cause fatal damage to the opponent. Hisoka retreated while relying on the linear terrain. Shield white line. Several huge lines emerge from the ground to defend against enemy attacks. Hisoka released the shield white line more and more times. He had to guard against the opponent's attacks while using the line to wrap up the underground Goran and Illumi to move. Do 2 things at once. Best MVP. Illumi, if you don't wake up, I won't be able to hold on any longer. Hisoka shouted towards the ground. At the moment Hisoka's string fruit awakened, Illumi told him to wrap him with string. He didn't know what Illumi was going to do. But he can't hold on any longer. No response. Hisoka continued to yell, if you don't come out, you and Renran will be buried with me. After Hisoka's transformation, a terrifying aura emanated from the ground, which was covered with white lines. Gloomy. Cold. Sure enough, Weng. After hearing sure enough, Weng, Illumi, who was wrapped in the thread, the 1,000 blades of demon in his arms flashed an evil purple color. Boom! A sword energy flew out from the ground, tearing a hole in the silken earth. Chapter 84. 1,000 blades of demonic Dao. Only attack, no defense, unparalleled in the world. Illumi flew out from the ground covered with silk threads, holding 1,000 magic blades, staring at Menthuthwiopi and Nephibito with a grim expression. Hateful. As expected, Weng is my brother, beloved relative, and friend. Hisoka is dead if he dies. You're actually going to wipe out my bond. When he thought of that little blue figure and little eyes, Illumi's heart seemed to no longer be cold. When he saw Guoran Wang for the first time, he felt a strange sense of familiarity. He used to be the eldest son of the Zaldik family and a top killer. There was one rule that always followed him throughout his career as a killer. If you can't win, just run. There's no need to fight desperately. Just now, he understood. Did I understand what the gap was between me and demonic 1,000 blades? Only attack, no defense, unparalleled in the world. He lacks the courage to forge ahead, and his courage is looked down upon by demonic 1,000 blades. Ilmi raised the magic sword 1,000 blades, which was emitting a strange purple light, and he no longer hesitated or wavered in his heart. 1,000 blades of demonic Dao, only attack, no defense. Unparalleled in the world. Call out. Ilmi held the magic sword 1,000 blades and chopped straight at Menthuthweopi on the ground. The gap between him and the demon sword disappeared. One of the national treasures of the Shenduan kingdom, the magic sword guarded by the evil spirit for 1,000 years, showed its powerful posture for the first time in the hunter world. The broken lines on the blade were gradually penetrated by the purple light. Hack! A huge purple sword energy swung out along the blade and chopped off Menthuthweopi's head. Let it vent. Roar. A sword energy. 2 sword energies. 3 sword energies. Thousands and thousands of sword energies slashed out from the magic sword, attacking Menthuthweopi from all directions. Totally crazy. Quick. Extremely fast. The faster you swing, the more sword energy you have and the higher the damage. Swish, swish, swish. As the sword energy was swung out, Ilmi felt a pleasure he had never felt before. The ultimate attack. I, Illumi, will be in charge. Boom boom boom. Hisoka cooperated with Illumi to attack Menthuthweopi and Nephibito, and the two attacked with extreme ferocity. Areas were gradually transformed into Hisoka lines, and every sword attack from Illumi made a loud explosion-like sound. A large area of forest in NGL has been destroyed beyond recognition by the two men. Seen from the sky, the battlefield looked like green hair with a large bald spot, which was extremely conspicuous. The Chimera Ant army, looking at the tragic battlefield, no longer had any desire to watch the fun. Gio and Leulu led the remaining Chimera Ant troops to retreat. The world as far as the eye can see has completely turned into a world of white lines. The Chimera Ant army also began to quarrel because of the unknown outcome of the war. Oh my god! Are the two adults going to lose to those two humans? Shut up, do you want to die? Trust the Legion commander. Come on. These Legion commanders just want us to help the Ant King capture humans. Most of the Chimera Ants are forced to catch food for the Ant King, and they have long been unhappy with the Ant King's coercive policy. The only two division commanders in the Chimera Ant army, Kiju and Leolu, were thinking about the next countermeasures. Kiju, do you think those two adults can win? Leolu asked Kiju beside him. Kido didn't answer, just shook his head slightly. His shaking head in response was very clever in Leulu's eyes. Don't you know? Still can't win? Leulu continued to test Gio. The sensitive Leulu has recently had a feeling that the Ant King's behavior seems too abnormal. Not only that, the bodies of some Chimera Ant division commanders were sent to the Ant King's palace along with human corpses. He had a bold guess that the Ant King was now eating the corpses of Chimera Ants in addition to humans to increase his strength. I have to protect myself. When it comes to the Chimera Ant at the level of division commander, every one of them has his own little plans in mind. Leulu can be said to be the most thoughtful among the division commanders. Kido, we are old acquaintances. Do you think the Ant King will eat you to increase his strength? Buzz. Kido looked at Leulu in disbelief, then looked at the Chimera Ants around him, making sure that the Chimera Ants next to him were 10 meters away from him. Then he said slowly, Lioolu, what do you mean? Kiju, the Ant King is not normal. I just want to protect myself. Kido was silent and didn't say anything. He just looked silently at the two adults who were fighting. At the same time, in the heart of NGL, the linearization of large areas has been discovered by the V5 troops surrounding NGL and the earthly branches that came to take charge. Not far from where Hisoka was fighting, Sayu, the monkey from the 12 earthly branches, was squatting on a tree, watching the battle nearby. It's so tragic. He commanded his mind beast 3 monkeys to set up a camera on a tree near the battlefield and broadcast the situation on the scene to the V5 generals and earthly branches in the camp. In the screen, Hisoka and Illumi flew into the air and cooperated to attack Menthuthweopi and Nephibito. The power of the demonic sword 1,000 blades and the string fruit caused all the Nen present to lose consciousness. Is this Nen? I found the information of these two people. The red-haired one is called Hisoka and is a registered hunter. The black-haired Illumi is also a registered hunter. The general of V5 looked at the representative of the Hunter Association, and Paris, the vice president of the Hunter Association, asked. Your Hunter Association has already sent people to deal with the Chimera Ants? Is it President Netero? Pariston replied with a smile, of course, President Netero led several hunters to NGL to investigate early in the morning. At this moment, Pariston's head was spinning wildly. He knew the identities of these two people, a former member of the Phantom Troupe and the eldest son of the Zaldik family. Both of them are not easy to deal with. Will they listen to Netero? Although Pariston and Netero do not get along, for the sake of the Hunter Association's face, these have to be the actions of the Hunter Association. Too strong. The two Chimera ants on the opposite side are definitely the Ant King's direct guards. I'm afraid ordinary hunters can't even take one of their attacks. The earthly branch dog Cheadle Yorkshire analyzed the strength of the two Chimera ants on the opposite side based on the battle screen. The strength of the Chimera ants at the direct guard level is beyond imagination. The Hunter Association is really full of talented people. Two hunters without any stars can actually fight against the Chimera ants at the level of the direct guard team to this extent. Change the ground. 10,000 sword energies. It's really terrifying. The generals of V5 looked at the two people in the picture and smacked their lips. Nan's individual strength is terrifyingly strong. Wait, look, that Catwoman's head seems to have fallen down. On the battlefield, Hisoka and Illumi cooperate with each other. Special move, 16 holy bullets, divine slaying, 16 huge white lines wrapped in high-density telekinesis rise from the ground and pierce the enemy at an extremely fast speed, completely piercing the enemy. In addition, the magic sword Thousand Blades in Ilmi's hand turned into thousands of fragments for coordination. In the end, the two-way attack all fell on Nephibito. Wow! Nephibito fell down, and several streams of blood spurted out from the wound. Nephibit. Chapter 85. In a world of white silk threads, a gushing blood deeply soaked the squirming silk thread earth. In the blood-stained place, Nephibito, leader of the Chimera Ant army, stared at the pale sky with an expression of disbelief. The sounds in her ears gradually became blurred, and she could vaguely hear Menthuthweopi calling her name. Is this what it feels like to die? Nephibito raised his head slightly and looked at the dozen dark red threads inserted into his abdomen. King! I may not be able to accompany you. Her voice became smaller and smaller, and at the last moment before her death, she was still muttering about the king of the Chimera Ants. I'm sorry, King. King. Until no sound could be made anymore, the breath of Nephibit officially disappeared. The Chimera Ant King's direct guard, the Nephibitos, are offline. Seeing Nephibito's breath completely gone, Menthuthweopi went completely crazy. As the king's direct guard, Menthuthweopi has a special feeling for Nephibit. Among the Chimera Ants, only Chimera Ants of the same bloodline level can communicate normally. With the death of Nephibit, Menthuthweopi lost half of his only two friends and colleagues in the world. Anger. Totally crazy. Menthuthweopi looked at the dead Nephibito and completely lost his mind. The Warcraft gene in his body was also completely stimulated at this moment. The strongest centaur form, Menthuthweopi, ran towards Hisoka and Illumi. Hisoka and Illumi looked at Menthuthweopi who had lost his mind and exchanged glances. Ilmi took out a metal ring from his arms and placed it on the ground. The two of them entered the circle one by one and disappeared. Menthuthweopi looked at the circle on the ground and stomped towards it angrily with his front hooves. But, the next second, the circle on the ground disappeared. The scent of Hisoka and Illumi was gone from the air. The telekinesis in Menthuthweopi's body surged, and the non-skill circle was fully released at this moment, sensing everything around him. He ran wildly in one direction, amplifying his perception. Hey! Another human being! Menthuthweopi, while running wildly, sensed the existence of three mental powers. Rushing in one direction among the woods. At this time, Sayu, one of the 12 earthly branches, who was observing from a distance, looked at the direction Menthuthweopi was heading and thought to himself that something was not right. That is where his mind beast, the three monkeys, is located. Sanya was driving a camera to broadcast the battle scene in real time for the V5 troops and the Hunter Association at the NGL border. Who would have thought? The camera turned and saw two angry front hooves. Tat tat. Just as Sayo was about to take back his mind beast, the three monkeys, he felt the ground shaking violently. Menthuthweopi trampled on the three monkeys madly. Since he couldn't find Hisoka and Illumi, he wanted to kill all the humans he saw to avenge Nephibitos. Next second, the three monkeys disappeared on the spot. The broadcast screen of the V5 station troops turned black. Sayu, the monkey, was also badly hurt by the death of the three monkeys. There was something more serious. Menthuthweopi discovered Sayu's presence and ran towards Sayu. Oops! Sayu looked at the huge Menthuthweopi that was as big as a hill and thought to himself that this was not good. He turned around and ran towards NGL's base. As the monkey, one of the 12 earthly branches, Sayu's flexibility and speed are no exaggeration. While escaping, he dodged Menthuthweopi's attacks and contacted the Hunter Association. Hey! Pariston, quickly call the troops and other hunters to the southwest junction. This chimera ant is acting like a madman. Hurry! Otherwise you'll be waiting for me to collect your body. Boom! Sayu was unable to dodge, and Menthuthweopi seized the opportunity to destroy the communicator in his hand with a telekinetic bullet. Human, I must kill you. Kill you. Da-da-da. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In the dense forest, half of the humans and one of the monkeys staged a life and death race. Dead legs, run faster. Gradually, through the dense forest, Sayu saw the tents of the stationed troops. He took out a flare he had prepared in advance from his pocket and threw it into the sky. Pa! The flare exploded in the sky, and the red smoke indicated the direction for V5's army. The appearance of red flares in the sky attracted Menthuthweopi's attention. He looked up at the sky. Several increasingly large tubular flying objects were getting closer. That is. Before he could hesitate for even a second, a sea of missiles exploded around Menthuthweopi. Bang, bang, bang. With Sayu's mark, countless missiles drew a graceful curve in the sky. They all flew towards Menthuthweopi. Destroy it. V5 and Hunter Association stationed here. Supreme Command Post. Pariston and V5's senior generals sat in the tent, looking at the bombing site on the screen. Who cares about those chimera ants? After one round of missiles, they will all become dead ants. General V5 simply looked down upon the so-called chimera ant threat. The power of human technology and the military is beyond imagination. Even Netero, the strongest man in the world, had no choice but to bow his head in front of the powerful V5 army. As long as it's a carbon-based organism, there's nothing that can't be killed. Ha ha ha. A group of military generals didn't pay any attention to the guards of the Chimera Ant King on the screen. Pariston on the side did not say anything, but just waited quietly for the smoke to clear. He also understood that the individual strength of carbon-based organisms was not enough in the face of human technology. The smoke on the screen cleared, and everyone gathered in front of the screen to see what the Chimera Ant looked like after being blown into pieces. What? In the picture, Menthuthweopi stood upright with no obvious injuries on his body. He was staring at the human encampment with an angry expression. Damn human! As he spoke, he raised his hooves, leaped into the air, and ran wildly towards the camp. Spicy balls! Seeing this scene, the generals of V5 ran out of the tent one after another. As soon as they left the tent, they could see Menthuthweopi, as huge as a hill, rushing towards here. The ground beneath my feet was also shaking due to the force of the trampling. Quick! Prepare the missiles. Where's the hunter from the Hunter Association? Go stop him! Machine guns ready! For a moment, all the generals were in a panic. Pariston looked at the panicked generals with a sneer on his face. Are we, the Hunter Association, going to die? Even though he was several kilometers away, Paris could still feel the momentum of Menthuthweopi. It makes people feel scared. The previous assessment of the strength of the Ant King's guards was wrong. Do you really think that you can kill a member of the guard by using the earthly branches? Wrong. All wrong. How terrifying are Hisoka and Illumi's abilities? Pariston remembered that Hisoka and Illumi could fight against 2 guard members alone, and even kill one of them. He didn't quite understand what was going on in this world. How come strong people keep emerging like mushrooms after rain? Chapter 86. Pariston didn't have time to think, as Menthuthweopi's figure became more and more concrete. In less than 2 minutes, he would flatten the camp. Everyone present, prepare to fight. As the vice president of the Hunter Association, Pariston immediately organized all the earthly branches present to intercept Menthuthweopi. Rush da da da. The only earthly branches with combat capabilities present are the dragon, monkey, ox, tiger, and Pariston, the rat. Several people gritted their teeth and rushed towards him without hesitation despite the pressure from Menthuthweopi. Just when the battle is about to break out, a dull and low voice came from behind Pariston and the others. Next, a huge golden palm dropped from the sky and slapped directly towards Menthuthweopi. The golden giant palm created waves of air as it descended, which lifted Pariston and his companions into the air, and Pariston rolled in the air. I felt as if a pair of large hands were holding me and slowly landing me in the camp. After Pariston stood firm, he immediately looked towards the giant golden palm in the distance, his heart pounding uncontrollably. It's Netero. In midair, Isaac Netero stood straight, his whole body in a suspended state. Behind him, a huge golden figure stood in the air. Countless golden arms opened wide and smashed towards Menthuthweopi. Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. Pariston stared at Netero, who looked like a god, and was dazed for a moment. Netero's power seemed to be beyond his imagination. Just standing there, the overwhelming pressure made it hard to breathe. 100 styles of Guanyin are performed. Isaac Netero demonstrated to both the chimera ants and humans the terrifying power that only belongs to the strongest man in the world. The old man swung out a set of palm techniques and stopped in mid-air. Looking at Menthuthweopi running away, he snorted coldly. Just wait. We will settle accounts with you all together then. Netero and Mo Lin escorted the Queen Ant and several Chimera Ant division leaders to the custody location that had been prepared in advance. He borrowed the Zaldik family's door and rushed back immediately. Unexpectedly, I encountered a battle between Menthuthweopi and several earthly branches of Pariston. After the old man resolved the crisis at hand, he floated from mid-air to Pariston and the others. President Netero, can you fly? Cheadle Yorkshire, the dog, asked curiously. Yes. Old man, I think you are stronger than before. Chenlong Badabai Giganti exclaimed. It's all the result of recent training. Netero waved his hand, not wanting to pursue the subject further. Pariston, on the other hand, had a different light in his eyes, as he had been observing Netero for several months. From then on, more and more people around Netero began to possess powers beyond their own. And the strong man who appeared in Yokiksen City and defeated Phantom Troupe. Everything is so abnormal. The appearance of Mr. Netero solved the current crisis in the camp. He led the Dizzy and V5 generals into the Combat Command Center and began to summarize the current situation in NGL. NGL exploration team in the group, Kate, Gon, and Killua have been sending reports on their explorations in NGL. Hisoka and Ilmi also posted the information they compiled in the group. Inside the combat headquarters tent, Netero sat on the main seat and shared the information he knew with everyone. It's already hell on Earth in NGL. The Chimera Ant army is frantically capturing humans and sending them to the palace of Dongguochuo. The Ant King should be there. I will take Mo Lin to Dongguochuo to hunt down the Ant King. Everyone, we have more things to do next. Netero fully played the role of the president of the Hunter Association and made good battle arrangements. One of the Chimera Ant's high-end combat forces has died and one has been disabled. The only ones left are the Ant King and Shiapoof, two intact high-end fighters. V5 and the remaining earthly branches will guard the border of NGL according to Netero's deployment and prevent any Chimera Ant from escaping the border. Before the final battle with the Ant King, the old man chose to go to Mo Lin's blind box store. On the other side, the seriously injured Menthuthweopi ran all the way. The oppression brought to him by Netero was several times stronger than that of Hisoka and Illumi combined. The giant golden palm that fell from the sky even made him feel the threat of death. Among the three guards, his hard power can be said to be the strongest. The monster gene created a strong body, and the joint attack of Hisoka and Illumi could not cause any substantial damage to his body. The old man broke his defense with just one palm. So horrible. Dragging his seriously injured body, Menthuthweopi joined up with the Chimera Ant army led by Kiju and Lialu, and returned to the Ant King's palace with Nephibit's body. The Chimera Ants were greatly surprised to see Menthuthweopi's injuries, while Kido and Lialai remained silent. Both of them saw clearly the palm strike that came from the sky. So powerful! After a day's journey, the large group arrived at the Ant King's palace. Shiapoof took Nephibit's body and the seriously injured Menthuthweopi to the Ant King's palace. Kido and Leulu led a large group of Chimera Ants outside the palace, resting and waiting. There was not a single division commander to be seen in the entire palace, and the air was filled with a dead silence. Kiju, not a single division commander is here. Leulu said in a heavy tone. Kido lowered his head, looked around, and then slowly spoke. I just went around a few Chimera Ant units surrounding the Imperial Palace, and one of the division commanders wasn't there either. I asked a few captains, and they said Shiapoof took the division commander into the Ant King's palace and disappeared. It is said that the Ant King sent him out on a mission. Having said that, Kid felt heavy in his heart, and he thought of a possibility. Run! Run! Taking advantage of the night, a leopard and a lion quietly left the army and ran towards the depths of the dense forest without looking back. They didn't know that their decision would bring a different life. Inside the palace. In the palace of the Ant King. Squeak caw. The sound of chewing food continued to echo in the empty hall. Shiapoof stood at the entrance of the palace, looking at the Ant King eating in front of him, frowning and swallowing hard. His classmates, Menthuthweopi and Nephobit, have turned into food and entered the stomach of the Ant King. Obviously Menthuthweopi's injuries were slowly recovering, but the Ant King was still. Thinking of this, Shiapoof dared not look at the scene in front of him anymore. Menthuthweopi, with only half of his body left, and the Ant King eating voraciously in front of him. The Ant King has changed. Ever since I was pressed to the ground and rubbed by that human that day, he became extremely crazy and tried every possible way to eat nutritious food. His body has become abnormally bloated. It's like a mountain of meat. The Ant King didn't notice Shiapoof's abnormality at all, his attention was all on the food in his hand. It's worthy of being the direct guard team. It's delicious. This is what nutrition tastes like. It's really delicious. Chapter 87. Shiapoof, I need more food. I feel like my bloodline is about to evolve. While the Ant King was eating, he ordered Shiapoof to go out and find food for him. Shiapoof stared at the completely crazy Ant King in front of him, and his heart inevitably became heavy. But his inner loyalty to the Ant King eventually overcame his fear. King! I will prepare more food for you. Shiapoof knelt on one knee to express his determination to the eating Ant King. In the next few days, Shiapoof personally led the remaining Chimera Ant troops to sweep every corner of NGL again and again. Capture all the hiding humans and give them to the Ant King as food. In order to give the Ant King more time to prepare, Shiapoof also sent out a division-level Chimera Ant unit to continuously harass the V5 unit's base. Everything is done to prepare more time for evolution. On the other side, members of the NGL exploration team use guerrilla warfare to hunt Chimera Ants within the NGL territory. During this time, Netero took Mo Lin to Dongguotu's palace to inquire about the situation of the Ant King. I just looked at the palace where the Ant King was from afar. Netero could feel an evil and terrifying aura coming from the palace. On the hillside west of the Dongguotu palace, Netero and Mo Lin stood on the top of the mountain and looked at the palace with black mist coming out of it in the distance. President Netero, the Ant King's strength may have exceeded our imagination. From the perspective of this evil aura, his strength may be close to that of a Class A threat. Netero nodded. He understood what Mo Lin said. The Ant King evolved too fast. We will launch the attack tomorrow. Before that, I have to go to Boss Mo Lin's blind box store first. Sharpen your sword before the battle, even if it's not sharp. Moreover, Netero's current strength is also attributed to the blind box store owned by owner Mo Lin. You go back to the base first, I'll be back soon. Netero took out the purchase card from his pocket, and with a thought, he appeared in the Wanja blind box store the next second. Mo Lin, who was playing with Charmander, saw Netero appear and put down Charmander in his arms. Long time no see. President Netero. Long time no see, Manager Mo Lin. You look tired. President Netero. The dirty clothes and tired look made Mo Lin take a second look. It seems that the crisis of Chimera Ants is very serious. I've been busy lately. I'm buying a high-end blind box this time, so I won't bother Mr. Mo Lin. After saying that, Netero walked to the self-service vending machine nearby and inserted his bank card into it. Input, 10 billion rings. Netero's purchase amount made Mo Lin excited. Big customer. 10 billion genie. As we all know, in the blind box store, only the blind boxes consumed by GNI and Mo Lin will get cash back on the blind box points. Ding ding ding. The blind boxes in the self-service vending machine are continuously spit out from the outlet of the machine, with 10 blind boxes in a group. In the blind box store, it shines brilliantly. White, purple, and gold. Lights of various colors flash alternately. Netero stared nervously at the blind box being opened in mid-air, muttering to himself. It must be a combat power item. The battle between Netero and the Ant King is about to begin. The stronger Netero's fighting power is, the greater his hope of winning this battle will be. He also wants to explore the Dark Continent once more. After a moment, the light dissipated, 6 were gold and 10 were purple. Swish, swish, swish. Information about the item began to flow into Mo Lin and Netero's brains. Gold items, would release bloodline, from the Naruto world. This is a ninjutsu that the caster uses his own telekinesis as the source of life. Multiple trees grow rapidly from the ground, creating a forest in an instant. All attacks and defenses of the trees in the forest are controlled by the caster. Blue buff, from the King's world, a one-time item that can continuously restore chi, restoring 1% of chi per second, lasting for 10 minutes. Would release, Flower Tree World Advent Scroll, from the Naruto world. It is the most powerful wood release technique. This technique uses one's own telekinesis as nutrients to make the trees dormant in the land grow rapidly and become larger, and can freely control these trees. Natural Energy Training Manual plus an Experience Pack, from the Naruto world. You can practice and absorb the natural energy of nature. Using the Experience Pack, you will automatically gain the natural energy that has been cultivated to a certain level. Sage Technique. Would release. True Thousand Hands Scroll, from the Naruto world. The strongest would release technique that only the god of ninja, Senju Hashirama, can control. When used with Sage mode, the effect is doubled, a copy of the enlightenment of Hashirama Senju. Sage mode, from the Naruto world, the enlightenment of Hashirama Senju, the god of ninja. Crush him and you will immediately master the Sage mode. When the information about the 6 golden items came out, Mo Lin was a little confused. Is this to dismantle Hashirama Senju and divide him into several golden items? The strength of the god of ninja world, Hashirama of the Senju, can be said to be at the absolute ceiling level. Every ability here can make a powerful ninja. For a moment, Netero stared at the 6 golden objects in a daze. Why is it that the abilities used by this god of the ninja world are somewhat similar to those of my own Hyakushiki Guanyin? Especially the arrival of the Flower Tree world, it is simply a powerful weapon in team battles. About skill description, great branches rising from the ground would cut through mountains, penetrate rocks, and envelop the landscape. In addition, several flowers grow on the trees, which produce poisonous pollen when they bloom. Once the pollen is inhaled, even a strong person will faint due to paralysis. Single target attack and team battle skills, everything is available. Netero can't wait to return to the NGL battlefield. After he carefully read all the information about the golden items, Netero discovered that these golden items were a complete set of products. It can be said that they complement each other. Especially the blue buff, which perfectly makes up for the problem of short endurance and achieves completely violent output. On the other hand, the purple items are all would escape ninjutsu scrolls and some small props that cannot improve combat power. Netero collected all his belongings, walked over to Mo Lin and said goodbye to him. It has become a habit to say goodbye to Mo Lin every time I leave the blind box store. Manager Mo Lin, I'm leaving now. Before I go, can I ask you a question? Mo Lin looked at Netero's serious expression and spoke slowly. Is it about the Queen Ant? Netero nodded. In fact, he already had the answer to the Queen Ant incident in his mind. But Mo Lin's next words made him look surprised for the first time in a long time. I saved the Queen Ant. I got some secrets about the Dark Continent from him. Chapter 88. The Secret of the Dark Continent. Netero exclaimed. The Dark Continent has always been the most mysterious existence in the Hunter world. It can be said that human exploration of the Dark World is less than 1%. The secret was right before his eyes, and Netero's heart was moved. The next second, he bowed to Mo Lin and left. Boss Mo Lin, thank you for telling me this. I will personally explore the secrets of the Dark Continent and uncover them. Goodbye. Holding the purchase card tightly in his hand, Netero disappeared into Mo Lin's blind box store with a thought. President Netero, you are really anxious. Mo Lin stared at the place where Netero had just stood, shook his head and smiled. President Netero is still as sharp as ever, and still has so much energy at the age of 120. Looking forward to your travels in the Dark Continent. NGL border, V5 troop stationed. Netero, who obtained the 4-piece set from Hashirama, returned to his room alone and sat on the floor. Crush all the Natural Energy Training Manual and Experience Pack and Hashirama Senju's Sage Mode Enlightenment. The white star light merged into Netero's body, and a hot feeling spread from Netero's lower abdomen to his whole body. Is this natural energy? From the item introduction, Netero learned that natural energy is something that exists everywhere in nature, but it is extremely difficult to extract this energy. The fusion of experience packs has given him an extra dose of natural energy. The scene of Hashirama Senju entering sage mode appeared in his mind. Netero looked at Hashirama Senju, who was standing on the top of the mountain like a true god, and felt moved unconsciously. The strong ones respect each other. Call out. Netero's consciousness gradually merged into Hashirama Senju's body, and his experience with the sage mode flooded into his mind. Sage mode is achieved by absorbing a certain amount of natural energy to create sage chakra. It is a state in which natural energy can be used to enhance attack and defense, and to increase the range and perception of physical attacks. Combining natural energy with one's own chakra to create senjutsu chakra can dramatically increase the power of one's own ninjutsu, taijutsu, and genjutsu. Netero doesn't know things like ninjutsu and chakra, but telekinesis and chakra have the same effect. Supplementing Nen with natural energy can greatly enhance the power of Nen. 2 days passed by in the process of cultivation without me noticing. The moment Netero woke up from his meditation, a surge of natural energy surged from his body. Boom! From Netero's small tent, they scattered around the camp. Natural energy is different from the chi in the human body. It is like a refreshing spring breeze, which makes people who have never been exposed to it feel relaxed and happy. All of a sudden, all the earthly branches in the camp looked towards Netero's tent. That's it. Pariston gently stroked the natural energy surrounding his body, and the mere touch gave him a comfortable feeling. A new power that is different from telekinesis. Chen Long Badabai Giganti looked at Netero's tent with a serious expression. In the worldview of these earthly branches, the mainstream method of cultivation in this world is telekinesis cultivation. This has been a recognized method for a long time. The energy emitted by human beings is called thoughts, and the ability to freely control and increase thoughts is called Nen. Learning this skill is also a basic requirement for becoming a professional hunter. Several earthly branches are also veterans who have been immersed in the Nen field for several years. But, today Netero broke several people's perceptions. He mastered an energy that did not emanate from human beings themselves. Don't you think this unique chi is very similar to the energy floating in nature? Cheadle Yorkshire, the dog, stimulated his telekinesis to carefully feel the natural energy floating around his body. The old man has been really mysterious lately. Sai the monkey complained. Look, Netero is growing, said Cheadle. The curtain of Netero's tent slowly opened, and the old man walked out and stretched. It feels so good. Hey! What are you doing here? Several earthly branches in front of him were staring at him in unison, leaving the old man confused for a moment. President Netero, have you invented a new training method? Cultivating energy other than telekinesis? Cheadle asked. You mean natural energy? That was not created by me. It was a practice I acquired that allowed me to extract a kind of energy from nature, Netero replied. Natural energy? Extracted from nature? What a strange word. The old man's words immediately made several earthly branches feel helpless. How come you secretly started to mutate? Before the earthly branches could come to their senses, Netero brought the topic to the issue of defeating the Ant King. Tomorrow, I will personally destroy the Ant King. You guys, call the generals of V5 and come with me to the meeting. The meeting was brief. Netero brought Mo Lin to assist. The high-end combat forces of the Chimera Ants were all eliminated by President Netero and his men. The main task of V5 and the rest of the Hunter Association is to guard the border of NGL and intercept the Chimera Ants. At the same time, Netero synchronizes the information to the NGL exploration team. Netero, everyone, today I will launch a decisive battle against the Ant King. Please intercept and kill the high-end combat power of the Chimera Ants. Kate, yes, President Netero. Hisoka, a duel with the Ant King? Just hearing this makes my blood boil. Ilmi, I can't wait to get started. Gon, got it. Killua, got it. Everything was ready, and Netero put the purchase card in his pocket. He was standing on a mountain top southwest of the kingdom of Dongguochuo, with Mo Lin smoking a cigarette next to him. Are you ready? Mo Lin. Of course, I can't wait, President Netero. Set off. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Netero uses the chicken charm, and then makes himself float in the air, which is the secret of his ability to fly. Mo Lin's whole body turned into smoke and flew towards the Dongguochuo palace. For this final battle, Netero brought a Mind Bee with him that had remote monitoring capabilities. He needed to broadcast this decisive battle in real time to V5's top brass and the generals and earthly branches in the stationed base. Thought bees hovered around Netero and Mo Lin. The forward movement scene has been broadcasted in real time. Garrison Camp, Combat Command Center. Several generals and earthly branches sat in front of the light curtain in the air, staring at Netero on the screen. Let's get started. Can Mo Lin itself transform into smoke? I don't know either. My body turned into smoke. It's very strong. Wait, don't talk, the president has arrived at the battle site. In the monitoring screen, Netero had already flown to the front of the Donggudo Palace. He was suspended in mid-air, looking at the Donggudo Palace, which was full of chimera ants and human corpses and severed limbs. He made seals with his hands and muttered something. Wood release, Flower Tree World arrives. Before starting the fight, clear the soldiers. First. Chapter 89. In an instant, bits of green emerged from the dry land and sand. Pa! Boom! The sapling that broke through the soil began to grow at an extremely fast speed, and in the blink of an eye, it grew into a towering tree. The palace of Dongguoto was submerged in the green ocean in an instant. The sudden situation caused the chimera ant army in the palace to panic. What's going on? What's going on with these giant trees? How did they suddenly grow? Quick, all chimera ants, don't panic, line up neatly and prepare to meet the enemy. Among the panicked chimera ant troops, a few chimera ant division commanders reacted and immediately integrated their troops. The unknown enemy is coming. Shiapoof, who was in the Ant King's palace, flew out of the palace immediately after feeling the strong vibration. He hovered in the air, looking at the devastated scene on the ground. The chimera ant army was dispersed by the giant tree, the chimera ants were dead or wounded, and the human food was running around. All chimera ant division commanders, assemble immediately, the enemy is coming. The Ant King wants to meet with all the division commanders. All of you should go to the Ant King's palace. Shiapoof yelled towards the ground. The Ant King has reached the most critical point of eating. As long as he eats some more nutritious food, he can complete the evolution of his bloodline. After hearing Shiapoof's words, the chimera ant division leaders on the ground all ran towards the Ant King's palace. Shiapoof counted the heads of each chimera ant division leader. Mere 1, Wilfin and Peggy. No, why are there only 3 division commanders? There should be at least 5 division commanders. Why are Jiju and Leulu, who we met yesterday, missing? Kiju, Lialu, come to the Ant King's palace quickly. Shiapoof shouted to the ground. A bad guess had already arisen in his mind. After a moment, no response. Oops. Shiapoof thought to himself that this was not good. Kiju and Leulu must have figured out something and ran away. Then the Ant King will not have enough nutrition. What to do? Shiapoof quickly went over in his mind all the nutritious creatures in the Dongguochuo palace. There is none left. Not a single nutrient-rich organism is left. Wait, there's me too. Shiapoof's eyes welled up with tears when he thought of the satisfied expression on the Ant King's face after he ate his other 2 companions. I want to dedicate myself to the Ant King. Call out without looking back, he rushed into the Ant King's palace again. The current state of the royal palace in Dongguoto. The wailing of the chimera ant army continued, and it was not until then that the chimera ants realized that the only way to survive was to escape. The instinct of living things prompts them to pursue the hope of life. But it was all in vain. Descending into the world of flowers and trees, from the moment this spell was cast, countless red flowers began to bloom on the giant trees. Swish, swish, swish. Fine pollen that is imperceptible to the naked eye gushed out from the stamens and diffused into every corner of the Dongguoto palace along with the breeze. Boom. Dong dong. Boom boom boom. The chimera ants fell to the ground in rows like collapsing dominoes. Great sleep quality. Fall asleep right away. Oh no. There's something in the air. A powerful chimera ant discovered the poisonous pollen floating in the air, and just as it was about to alert its companions, it fell asleep forever. Run. Hold your breath. It's a mess, a complete mess. In less than 10 minutes, all the chimera ants, whether standing or flying in the air, fell down. The entire Dongguochuo palace was in deathly silence. Netero looked at the silent Dongguodo palace and moved his sight towards the Ant King's palace. He could feel that a terrifying aura was quietly rising, becoming more and more evil. Netero did not proceed with the next plan. He was waiting for the Ant King to come out by himself. He is too lonely. Decades of not having met an opponent made him feel that life was boring. Before going to the Dark Continent, he wanted to fight with the complete Ant King to warm up for his trip to the Dark Continent. Buzz! Buzz! Nian Feng, hovering around Netero, filmed the scene that just happened with an ultra-wide-angle panoramic technique and transmitted it to the V5 garrison far away at the NGL border. In the Combat Command Center. All the people sitting here were stunned at the moment, staring at the tragic scene of Dong Guotuo in the picture, speechless. It's so horrible. In less than 10 minutes, all the troops in a palace were killed. The Dong Guotuo Palace, located in an arid area, was turned into a primeval forest by the means of President Netero. Manipulate trees and change the landscape? Is this still the Isaac Netero, the president of the Hunter Association that we know? After a while, one of the V5 generals came to his senses and spoke slowly. President Pariston, your Hunter Association is really not nice. You didn't even tell us in advance that President Netero had this method, making us worry for nothing. Killing all the Chimera Ant soldiers with one powerful move, what a great move. Pariston smiled faintly and said, General, President Netero specifically asked us to keep this secret in order to catch our opponents by surprise. After hearing what Pariston said, several other earthly branches turned to look at him with expressions of disbelief. How come I don't know? Or is it that you, Pariston, have such a good relationship with President Netero? Pariston had no idea what Netero's abilities were. This method of controlling trees was obviously not from President Netero's Nen. President Netero's Nen has been documented in great detail. He is the Nen of Enhancer, and Nen is the Avalakai Tesvara of the 100 Worlds. It has nothing to do with trees. However, the ability that Netero demonstrated this time made Pariston feel deeply wary. For human beings, the unknown is always the most terrifying. Under the watchful eyes of his father, Pariston, President Netero developed even more powerful abilities. Why is that? Pariston was puzzled. The more means and strength President Netero demonstrates, the more secrets he will reveal. What are these secrets? While Pariston was immersed in his own speculation, a general of V5 uttered a horrified voice. Look! Something seems to have rushed out of the Ant King's palace. In the screen, a huge black gaseous mass broke through the roof of the Ant King's palace and rushed straight towards Netero, who was hanging in the air. The black gas mass is getting closer. The Mind Bee hovering in the air stared at the black gas mass. Relay to the Combat Command Center. The picture gradually became clear. In the black air, a flesh ball as big as a small mountain was opening its bloody mouth and getting closer and closer. Chapter 90. Here we come. Netero stared intently at the Ant King flying towards him. Why did the Ant King become like this? Netero stared at the mountain of flesh that looked like nothing but a human, feeling confused. This is completely different from the appearance of the Ant King that the Queen Ant described to herself. Furthermore, the aura of the Ant King was even more terrifying than Netero had expected. 100-style Guanyin. Swish, swish, swish. Netero's body instantly glowed with golden light, and a huge golden statue of Guanyin, like a god, stood tall behind him. 100 styles of Guanyin, 100 styles of Guanyin. The Nen of Netero, the strongest man in the human race, is the outburst of his inner beliefs and his pursuit of power. Countless arms stretched out from the Guanyin statue and slashed towards the flying Ant King. 100 styles of Guanyin, first style. Netero stretched out his right arm, with his palm flat, turning it into a hand knife, and chopped straight at the Ant King. Boom! The giant statue of Guanyin behind him also synchronized Netero's movements and chopped out with his hands. Bang, bang, bang! The heavy pressure brought by the hand knife knocked the flying Ant King down. The meat-like body of the Ant King gave him a huge shock-absorbing space. The Ant King, who fell to the ground, quickly adjusted his combat position. He stretched out two strong arms from his body, supported his head, and resisted the giant hand of Guanyin. Whoosh! The Ant King bent his legs and jumped up, holding on to Guanyin's giant hand. Use powerful force to directly shake Guanyin's giant hand away. The Ant King entered combat mode, staring at Netero's body that was shining with golden light with a greedy look on his face. Nutrition. Nutritious food. I want to eat, I want to eat. The Ant King has lost his mind. His appetite controls his brain, and long-term eating makes him even hungrier. The body's desire for nutrition reaches its peak. Just like a drug addict, he feels uncomfortable if he doesn't eat for a moment. Although the Ant King's body is bloated now, the evil aura he exudes makes Netero frown. Call out! The Ant King attacked, adjusting his posture and jumping flexibly, constantly harassing Netero. Nutritious, powerful prey needs a little wear and tear. During the attack, he charged a punch and punched through Netero's Hyakushiki cannon's palm. The Ant King continued to attack after having his palm pierced, not caring about the giant palm that was slicing towards his body. He only focused on the Netero in front of him and wanted to eat the Netero in front of him. The attacks of 100 styles of Guanyin could not cause any substantial damage to the Ant King. Instead, pairs of golden giant palms were pierced through. The current Ant King has eaten almost half of the Chimera ants, including almost all the division commanders and the 3 major guards. Even he himself doesn't know how strong he is. Eat you! Eat you! The Ant King became more and more crazy. The delicious food was right in front of him, but the feeling of not being able to eat it made him anxious. He charged forward without hesitation. Keep charging! All the intercepting 100 styles of Guanyin were smashed to pieces by the Ant King. The mind bees in the distance couldn't help but tremble when they saw this scene. The terror of the Ant King even made the mind bee controller far away in the combat command center tremble all over. It's so scary. The Ant King's breath, just a touch of it makes me tremble uncontrollably. In the surveillance footage he maintained, the distance between the Ant King and Netero was getting closer and closer. Everyone present was so nervous that their hearts were in their throats. The Ant King is so strong. Even Netero-kun's Hyakushiki cannon can't harm him. One of V5's generals had his brows lowered, a look of worry on his face. If Netero, the strongest man in the human race, cannot stop the Ant King, then he can only use Rose to destroy the entire NGL region. But this is the last resort. This type of bomb is therefore known as the poor man's Rose and is widely favored by small, authoritarian countries. Not only is it low budget and small in size, its destructive power is even more astonishing. The most terrifying thing is the poison gas in the bomb, from which no living creature can escape. Humans don't even think highly of the Ant King and are unwilling to use more powerful weapons. While everyone is worried about President Netero, the scene in the picture changes again. The originally broken 100-style Guanyin was completely restored in an instant. An even brighter golden light shone from President Netero, and along with it, a white natural energy emerged on the surface of Netero. Netero probably already knew the Ant King's strength. The king of the Chimera ants has gone insane by eating his own kind for power. Let me end your life. The peak physical strength of Netero in his prime and the skills of Netero who is 120 years old are integrated into one. The true light of Beishi Guanyin shines in every corner of the kingdom of Dongguotu. The old man put his hands together. Natural energy drives sage mode. 2 faint red streaks appeared at the corners of Netero's eyes. A combination of peak telekinesis and natural energy. With the blue buff turned on, the natural energy and chi in the body are being restored at a rate of 1% per second. At this moment, the old man just standing there was like a true god descending to the earth. Senjutsu would release true thousand hands. On the originally golden 100-style Guanyin statue, vines grew out from the ground, climbed along the statue, and wrapped around the entire statue. The combination of the 2 abilities made the old man feel unprecedented power. He had a vague intuition that he seemed to have touched the barrier of power. Boom! Netero gently raised his right palm and slapped it towards the ground. Have you ever heard of a palm strike coming down from the sky? 1 hand, 2 hands, 3 hands. Countless hands dropped from the sky and slapped the Ant King's position again and again. The earth shook. The mountains of NGL also began to dance happily because of Netero's palm technique. The Ant King was pinned to the ground, enduring one palm after another. He wanted to resist, but when he stood up, the next giant palm was superimposed on the previous one. Bang, bang, bang. 10 minutes. 10 whole minutes. The continuous palm strikes raised the kingdom of Dongguotu to the ground, and when people looked again, only a flat layer was left. Netero, stop. Staring at the Ant King who had been beaten into a thin meat patty on the ground, he breathed a sigh of relief. The Ant King's breath disappeared. Finished the job. Everyone who was watching the fight had an expression of astonishment. Combat command. It's so quiet. After watching this pure bloodbath, everyone had only one thought in their mind. Is that all? I watched the Ant King being beaten by the old man for a full 10 minutes. After a while, the generals of V5 finally reacted from Netero's miracle. President Pariston, is this the strongest man in the human race, President Netero? It's too outrageous. Pariston did not speak this time, but just stared at the scene in the air in silence. After the death of the Ant King, the crisis of the Chimera Ants was resolved. This is too simple. President Netero, I must dig out your secrets. Pariston swore secretly in his heart. Chapter 91. War. It's over. The moment the Ant King died, the high-end combat power of the Chimera Ants was also completely destroyed. The Ant King, whose stomach contained most of the flesh and blood of the Chimera Ants, could not survive more than 10 minutes in Netero's hands. Humanity has once again pushed the limits of its power. After the Ant King was destroyed, at the same time, V5 sent troops to enter NGL to sweep the remaining Chimera Ants. At this moment, the Chimera Ants truly realized the power of humans as an intelligent race. Various types of artillery and firearms, like the scythe in the hands of the god of death, harvested the lives of the Chimera Ants. The combat team, by cooperating with each other, can kill a Chimera Ant. Without high-end combat power, the Chimera Ant race only lasted 5 days in NGL before being almost wiped out. Some Chimera Ants who did not want to resist were also incorporated into V5's troops and went to a new living area. A week later, President Netero led the earthly branches participating in this battle to the V5 United Nations headquarters. Conduct a post-war report and summary. V5 United Nations, inside the central conference room. The rows of seats were already full of people. These include senior government officials from V5 countries, military generals, senior UN officials, and senior officials from the Hunter Association. On the stage at the front of the large conference room, a middle-aged woman was presiding over the meeting. She is the newly appointed V5 United Nations chairperson, Ms. Kisama. V5 is highly efficient. As long as President Netero demonstrates his value and the benefits he brings to the V5 countries, even the President of the United Nations can be replaced at any time. Everyone, the meeting is now officially open. Please invite President Netero of the Hunter Association to take the stage to speak. According to the meeting process, Netero, representing the Hunter Association, was the first to give a battle summary of the Chimera Ant incident. Da-da-da. The old man walked from the first row of seats to the stage and stood in front of the speaking table. Everyone. There is nothing much to say about the Chimera Ant incident. The Hunter Association and the V5 team worked together perfectly, and the Chimera Ant incident was resolved perfectly. However, there are some problems with the Chimera Ant incident. At this point, Netero looked at Kazuma, the head of the United Nations, who was standing nearby. Before heading to NGL, I contacted the previous UN president, Salin, but he made excuses and delayed the attack, allowing the Chimera Ants to wreak havoc in NGL. I hope Ms. Kazuma can remember this mistake. Kazuma didn't expect that she would be cued by Netero as soon as she took office and presided over the meeting. She couldn't help but smile bitterly. Of course, President Netero and Chairman Salin also received the punishment they deserved for this matter. As his successor, I will certainly remember this lesson. The conversation between the two was very brief, but those who paid close attention could hear that this was Netero's dissatisfaction with the top management of V5. The V5 executives sitting in the first row could only smile bitterly. In this matter, it was indeed V5's intention to cause trouble for Netero, but at that time, President Netero did not say that he would lead the team to the Dark Continent. V5 also underestimated the strength of President Netero. How come old Deng is even more powerful than when he was young and at his peak? Reverse growth? Before everyone could get over the old man's complaints, Netero's next speech made the whole audience explode. Everyone, in half a month, I will lead a team to explore the Dark Continent. This has always been my wish. As soon as he finished speaking, the whole audience was in an uproar. The participants who were unaware of this matter were immediately furious. Hey, hey, hey! What's going on? Why are you suddenly talking about heading to the Dark Continent? How should I know? Hasn't President Netero always been against going to the Dark Continent? Hey! Pariston, you are the vice president of the Hunter Association, do you know about this? Pariston looked at Netero on the stage with disbelief, not knowing what to say. The Dark Continent is a taboo for all countries. The old man raised this matter so openly at the United Nations meeting. What do you think the leaders of other countries will think? President Netero spoke a lot about his thoughts on the exploration of the Dark Continent on the stage. Finally, a word of advice. After the meeting, I will personally discuss the specific details of this incident with V5's top management. Everyone, I have finished my speech. After the meeting, everyone present wanted to find President Netero to ask about exploring the Dark Continent. The benefits of the Dark Continent are too great, and all forces with some strength want to get a piece of the pie. But when people blocked the entrance of the venue and wanted to ask Netero about this matter, Netero had already disappeared from the venue using the purchase card. He has more important things to do. That is to go to Mo Lin's blind box store with members of the NGL exploration team to submit the task. Inside Mo Lin's blind box store, Hisoka, Illumi, Gon, Killua, and Kate have been sitting here waiting for a long time. Everyone, I'm late. A voice came from the entrance of the blind box shop, and several people turned their heads to look. Netero is coming. Boss Mo Lin, sorry, I'm late. Let's start the mission. Task: eliminate the threat, investigate the cause. The invasive species from the Dark Continent has been investigated clearly. It is a low-level race from the Dark Continent, the Chimera Ants. How could the weak Chimera Ants travel across the ocean from the Dark Continent to the human world? There must be some ulterior motive. Mission requirements: eliminate the threat of Chimera Ants and investigate why Chimera Ants came to the human world. Task reward: 10W blind box points. Task status: completed. Mission personnel: 6/6. Isaac Netero, Ilmi Zaldik, J Freaks, Hisoka, Killua Zaldik, Kate. Mission details: because the Ant King has undergone a leap in racial evolution during the Chimera Ant incident, the difficulty of this mission has been upgraded, and an additional 20,000 blind box points will be awarded. According to each person's task completion, blind box points are allocated as follows. Isaac Netero, eliminate the Ant King and a group of Chimera Ants, mission completion rate 50%, blind box points 60,000. Ilmi Zaldik, team up with Hisoka to eliminate a Legion commander and several Chimera Queens, with a mission completion rate of 10% and 12,000 blind box points. Hisoka, team up with Illumi to eliminate a Legion commander and several Chimera Queen Ants, with a mission completion rate of 10% and 12,000 blind box points. J Freaks, explore NGL with Kate and Killua, obtain detailed information about Chimera Ants, and kill a number of Chimera Ants. The mission completion rate is 10%, and the blind box points are 12,000. Kate, team up with Gon and Killua, task completion rate 10%, blind box points 12,000. Killua. Zaldik, team up with Gon and Kate, mission completion rate 10%, blind box points 12,000. This mission was successfully completed. Netero looked at the extra 60,000 blind box points in his account, his mouth stretched to the back of his head. He turned to look at a few people and mentioned something. Do any of you want to explore the Dark Continent? Chapter 92. Dark Continent? The 5 people in front of Netero were stunned when they heard this word. Dark Continent, that's a taboo. The old man asked us if we wanted to explore the Dark Continent. Hisoka's heart was moved, and he was the first to ask Netero. President Netero, what do you mean by this? Netero went straight to the point and revealed his plan to form a group to explore the Dark Continent in half a month. I promised V5 to lead the team to explore the Dark Continent again. Now I have the final say and can decide who will go to the Dark Continent. Wow! Decide who will go to the Dark Continent? Which hunter wouldn't be excited when hearing about the opportunity to explore the Dark Continent? Gon's head was buzzing and felt like it was going to explode. He was the last one among these people to learn about the existence of the Dark Continent. His heart was full of longing for the magical Dark Continent. Oh my god! President Netero! I'm going to. In the end, everyone chose to go to the Dark Continent and follow President Netero to explore. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Alright. Everyone, it's settled. You will report to the Hunter Association in a few days. A week later there will be a special meeting to discuss the selection of people to go to the Dark Continent. After saying that, the old man walked towards Mo Lin. Before exploring the Dark Continent, he had to be fully prepared. In that place, if you are not careful, you may die on the spot. Boss Mo Lin, I still have 60,000 blind box points, give me 6 epic blind boxes. What a courage, President Netero. The old man mentioned the epic blind box as soon as he opened his mouth. Only the old man would have such courage. All in is just so charming. Please wait a moment. I'll get it for you. After saying that, Mo Lin turned and entered the warehouse behind him and took out 6 epic blind boxes. The epic blind box is the most advanced blind box currently available in the blind box store. The entire structure is made of bronze and shows traces of time. Just standing there, one can feel the chill. Holding 6 high-end blind boxes, Mo Lin remembered what Netero had just said and formed a team to explore the Dark Continent. Have you finally made up your mind? President Netero. Mo Lin understood that the Dark Continent was full of crises and that if he was not careful, he might lose everything. The 6 epic blind boxes could be considered as a guarantee for President Netero. When the 6 epic blind boxes were placed on the counter of the blind box shop, several people gathered around. This is an epic blind box, and it's the first time they've seen it. So cool! Is this an epic blind box? It's simple and profound, and has a faint sense of oppression. It's really an epic blind box that costs 10,000 yuan per item. Netero looked at the cold glow of the epic blind box and felt a little uneasy. In fact, the confidence to explore the Dark Continent comes entirely from Mo Lin's blind box shop, although his strength has already surpassed the previous limits of human beings. With the existence of the Wolfberg spaceship, we have gained a lot of confidence. But who would complain that they have too much confidence? President Netero recited silently in his heart, and the 6 epic blind boxes emitted a cold light and opened one by one. Buzz! 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 Gold, gold, colorful, colorful, purple, purple. 2 colors, 2 golds, 2 purples. Epic blind box, so terrifying. Colored items, weather cube, from the Zui world, has the function of utilizing weather, contains 6 weather elves, wind elves, dark cloud elves, sun elves, lightning elves, thunder elves, and ice elves. Use the 4-dimensional pocket 10 times, from the Doraemon world. When you are in trouble, reach into the 4-dimensional pocket and you can get the most suitable items for the current situation according to your wishes. You can keep 5 items. Gold items, Fangfried, from the world of One Piece, CP0 Spondam's sword. It is a sword that has eaten the elephant fruit. It has 2 forms. One is to transform into a sword form, which is used by Spondam himself. The other is to transform into an elephant sword state, where the nose becomes a big sword and the body changes into an elephant to fight. Healing fruit, from the world of pirates, has the ability to heal biological injuries. It can activate its ability to heal all injuries of living creatures, even its own tears have a healing effect. The ultimate ability is to restore everything to its original state, regardless of organic or inorganic, at the cost of reducing lifespan. The highest level of use is to restore the ability by reducing lifespan. When the item information was displayed, Mo Lin, who was standing nearby, couldn't help but exclaim in amazement. President Netero's luck is incredible. 2 colors and 2 golds. One of the colorful items is Wolf's Weather Cube, which is known as a powerful weapon. It contains a weather elf that can make use of the weather. It is best used in conjunction with the Wolf Castle spaceship. With the 2 combined, it can provide some self-protection capabilities in places like the Dark Continent. Not to mention the 10 opportunities to use the 4-dimensional pocket. This is a pretty useful colorful item. Among Doraemon's props, they can only produce miraculous effects when used in the most suitable places. If the Dark Continent is compared to an expedition, then this item can be regarded as expedition equipment. Netero, congratulations! You got a nice treasure. Mo Lin said. Netero was still immersed in the information about the item and did not hear what Mo Lin said until Mo Lin called out for the second time, then he came to his senses. Boss Mo Lin, the epic blind box is really good. Netero is very satisfied with this blind box opening. Whether it is the weather cube or the 4-dimensional pocket with 10 uses, they are both very suitable items for the upcoming Dark Continent expedition. In particular, the treatment problem that he was most worried about was also solved by the healing fruit. President Netero, I have everything I need. After the blind box opening, Netero said goodbye to everyone and agreed to meet at the Hunter Association in a week. The few people who stayed in the store stared at Mo Lin, and they were also a little restless. The explosion rate of the epic blind box is really high. 2 color and 2 gold items came out of 6 blind boxes. It's really enviable. Those are colorful items. Currently, only President Netero has drawn out colored items, and there are 3 of them, and the effects of each one are extremely powerful. Mo Lin looked at the few people who were ready to make a move, and added fuel to the fire. Everyone, the explosion rate of the legendary blind box is also very high. President Netero drew the legendary blind box 10 times last time and got the colorful item Wolf Castle spaceship. Boss Mo Lin, give me 10 legendary blind boxes. Killua took out the purchase card in his hand and handed it to Mo Lin. followed by Gon and Kate. Boss Mo Lin, I'll have 10 too. Me too, Boss Mo Lin. Okay, everyone, please line up, one by one. Chapter 93. A week later, Hunter Association. The central conference hall of the Hunter Association is already filled with hunters from all over the world. The spacious hall was packed with people. In addition to the hunters from the Hunter Association itself, there were also representatives from V5 and the Kajin Empire. They appeared here today because of one thing. President Netero will personally select the people who will go to the Dark Continent. In the first row of the conference room, all 12 earthly branches of the Hunter Association were present, sitting in the center of the first row. Everyone had a different look on their face, and their eyes were fixed on the entrance to the podium, waiting for Netero to arrive. Jin, I haven't seen you for a long time. You rushed back as soon as you heard that the president was going to the Dark Continent. It really fits your personality. Pariston teased Jin, who was sitting next to him. The 12 earthly branches, it's rare that so many people can sit here together. Some people haven't been seen for a year or two. Pariston, do you know why President Netero agreed to go to the Dark Continent? Jin asked in a low voice. He was exploring some ruins far away. After receiving the message that President Netero would personally lead the team to the Dark Continent, he immediately put down his work and rushed to the Hunter Association. Jin knew Netero all too well. He is determined not to allow humans to go to the Dark Continent, as any carelessness would bring a devastating disaster to human civilization. Why did you take the initiative to lead the team this time? How should I know? Maybe it has something to do with President Netero's new abilities. Pariston pointed out some of Netero's new abilities recently used to test Jindao. Jin was close to Netero, maybe he knew something? New abilities, you mean the methods the president used to eliminate the Ant King? Oh? Did you just find out about this too, Jin? Jin nodded and fell silent. He had seen with his own eyes the video of Netero killing the Ant King alone. It was a huge wooden statue of Guanyin that was different from the 100-style Guanyin. The power to manipulate trees was the decisive force that enabled the old man to kill the Ant King alone. Stop arguing, it will grow out. Cheadle reminded. On the rostrum, Netero took small steps and walked slowly from the curtain to the lecture table. His appearance instantly attracted the attention of the whole audience. The originally noisy conference room suddenly became silent. This is the face of Netero, the president of the Hunter Association and the strongest man in the world. Ahem. Everyone. Welcome to the Hunter Association to attend this meeting. I won't say any polite words. I think everyone knows the theme of this meeting. I will select some people to go with me to explore the Dark Continent. I believe that those who can come to the venue are those who want to go with me. At this meeting, I will select 10 people to join me as a vanguard team to explore the Dark Continent. The final selection of personnel will be decided by me personally. Everyone, when you enter the venue, you will be given a pen and a piece of paper. Please write down the reasons why I can choose you to go. Let's get started. After Netero finished speaking, he turned and walked away from the podium, leaving everyone confused. What does President Netero mean? Only 10 people will be selected. Do we have a chance? It's all the earthly branches who are up to it. How can we, the one-star hunters, be qualified? Hey! Didn't you inform Netero before the meeting? How can he get there without the black whale of our Kajin Empire? Cheadle, what does the president mean by this? For a moment, the entire conference room was in chaos, and everyone expressed doubts about Netero's selection criteria. However, amid the noise, the rustling sound of the pen tip sliding across the paper gradually began to be heard. Everyone began to write down their own strengths on pieces of paper in the hope that President Netero would choose them. After all, there are not many opportunities to travel to the Dark Continent, and some people may die without ever even seeing the Dark Continent from afar. In the corner of the meeting room, several familiar figures began to communicate silently. Gon, Killua, Leorio, and Kurapika were all present at this meeting. Hisoka, Illumi, and Kate sat in other corners. Gon, President Netero doesn't mean that we should write down the abilities we got from Boss Mo Lin and use them as investment capital. As Kurapika spoke, the pen in his hand started moving, quickly writing down the abilities of his Mangekyo Sharingan. A few days ago, President Netero extended an invitation to everyone he knew who had purchased blind boxes at the Mo Lin blind box store. Heading to this Hunter Association meeting? Not necessarily. We have to select some powerful Nin to go to the Dark Continent. Leorio retorted. Strong? That's not true. If we talk about strength, who is stronger than President Netero? He definitely needs functional team members. Kurapika has already understood Netero's purpose in holding this meeting. Collect all the props and people with special abilities in the blind box stores to accumulate capital for exploring the Dark Continent. I've already written it. While Kurapika and Leorio were talking, Gon had already stood up and walked towards the podium. 6 hours later. After all the papers were collected and reviewed by President Netero, the ceremony was officially announced to begin. Netero returned to the podium again and stood in front of the microphone with a stack of papers in his hand. Everyone. Thank you for your active participation. This time I have selected 10 people to go to the Dark Continent. I'm here to announce the names of these people. Let's get started. Netero placed the paper in his hand in front of him and pursed his lips slightly. To the people in the audience, his actions seemed like an agonizing weight. Jin, do you think there will be you? I don't know. The president's selection criteria were not disclosed. Do you think the old man might have already found a candidate before the meeting? The earthly branches sitting in the first row all believed that they were the best candidates to go to the Dark Continent. However, there are only 10 places available, and it seems that there are not enough places for 12 people. Which 2 unlucky guys will stay in the association? First up, J Freaks. J Freaks? When everyone present heard this name, it felt both familiar and unfamiliar. Shouldn't it be Jin Freaks? Did the president pronounce it wrong? No way. Is he a relative of the Jin family? Or is it the same name? After reading Gon's name, President Netero deliberately paused and looked at Jin in the first row. His gaze was instantly caught by the other earthly branches around Jin. Pariston looked at Jin who was sitting next to him and asked, Jin, this J Freaks has the same last name as you. Is he your relative? Yet. Jin, why don't you speak? Asked Cheetle, the dog. He is my son. Chapter 94. Son? Jin, when did you have a son? Where is he? Yet. Jin, I haven't heard you mention that you have a son. Jin, who was sitting in his seat, looked silently at President Netero standing on the podium. He never expected that the first person on the list to go to the Dark Continent would be his own son Gon. How could he go to the Dark Continent with his strength? President Netero, what are you thinking about? The meeting continues. Netero continued to read out the next list. The second one is Killua Zaldik. Third one, Leorio. Number 4, Kurapika. Fifth, Hisoka. Number 6, Kate. The 7th one is Ilmi Zaldik. The 8th one is Mo Lin. 9th place, Cheadle Yorkshire. Number 10, Pariston Hill. Please ask the 10 candidates whose names you read above to come to the small conference room. I have something to say. After reading out the names of all the personnel, Netero turned and went to the small meeting room behind the curtain. Netero has his own selfish motives regarding the 10 team members selected this time. 8 of them are hunters from the Hunter Association who are connected to him and are customers of the Wanja blind box store. They are his own people who know him well. Moreover, everyone's abilities are unique, making them more suitable for traveling to the Dark Continent than most hunters. The 2 earthly branches, Cheadle Yorkshire, the dog, and Pariston, the vice president of the Hunter Association, are the people Netero trusts the most and the least. It's best to carry it with you. After Netero left, the entire venue exploded, and everyone rushed towards the person who was named, wanting to see what kind of person could be chosen by President Netero. Gon and the others quietly slipped down the corridor to the backstage before their names were read out. Only Pariston and Cheadle in the first row were surrounded and killed. Cheadle, Pariston, why were the 2 of you chosen by the president? I don't know either. Cheadle waved his hands, looking confused. Pariston, who was standing aside, didn't know why Netero chose him to go to the Dark Continent together. But he had a determined smile on his face. Maybe President Netero thinks I'm too important and an indispensable member of the team. Cheadle, let's go. Pariston grabbed Cheadle Yorkshire, who was still in a daze, and pushed through the crowd and rushed into the small conference room. In the small conference room, President Netero and 10 selected members sat in front of a round table and had a video call with the leaders of various countries in V5. Leader of the Mingbo Republic, President Netero, what's going on? The personnel we agreed on are different. Okima Federation, yet. You only selected 10 people, how are you going to explore the Dark Continent? The United States of Sahelta, President Netero, how are we going to explain this to the Kajin Empire? They are the ones who provided all the expenses for this expedition and the cruise ship, the Black Whale. The leaders of various countries were very dissatisfied with Netero's arbitrary behavior this time. As soon as the meeting ended, they immediately questioned what Netero was trying to do. The attitude of the V5 leader made the group of people standing behind him feel embarrassed. Pariston and Cheadle Yorkshire looked at each other and looked at Netero in confusion. What on earth is President Netero thinking? Isn't it a suicide mission for 11 people to go to the Dark Continent? Everyone! Please allow me to say a few words. Netero interrupted the V5 leader's questioning. Please allow us to move to another place. I will tell you all my plans. It won't be too late to question them then. The team size is set at 11, and Netero certainly has his confidence. A few minutes later, Netero led the 11 people to an empty square in the Hunter Association's underground base. Okima Federation, President Netero, why did you bring us to the Hunter Association's underground base? The United States of Sahelta, President Netero, if you don't give me a reasonable explanation, I'm afraid we may have to reconsider our selection of people to go to the Dark Continent this time. President Netero ignored the V5 leader's words and pulled a blue and white universal capsule from his pocket and threw it into the air. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The moment the universal capsule was thrown into the air, a black shadow emerged from it and completely blocked the ceiling light of the underground base in an instant. What is this? Pariston kept retreating backwards, and only after several dozen meters was he able to catch a glimpse of the entirety of the huge monster in front of him. A spaceship that is nearly 100 meters long. It was also the first time that Pariston had seen a spaceship of this type. Unlike the bloated airships of the Hunter Association, this spaceship was streamlined as a whole, and its surface was painted in different shades of purple. The cool technological appearance made Pariston stunned. President Netero, what is this? Not only Pariston, but even the V5 leader who was hanging in the air and making a video call was seeing this type of spacecraft for the first time. President Netero is really a hidden talent. Mingbo Republic leader, President Netero, please introduce us. Everyone, this spaceship is called the Wolf Castle spaceship. It is about 90 meters long. It is unmanned, anti-gravity suspended, beam traction, and energy shield. It can efficiently convert their own energy into the power energy of the spacecraft. Everyone, this is my confidence in heading to the Dark Continent. Buzz. For a moment, Pariston and Cheadle's heads seemed to explode, and their mouths opened wide. They looked at the 8 people beside them, trying to read the same shock on their faces, but each of these people had an expression of being used to it. Can't you see it? Aren't you shocked to see such a large and technologically advanced spaceship right in front of you? President Netero did not give the 2 men time to be shocked and pointed his finger at Gon and others behind him. Each of these people has unique skills. I carefully selected them. Everyone, introduce your abilities. Leorio was the first to come forward and walked up to President Netero and introduced him. My name is Leorio, and I'm a surgeon. My ability is to create a spherical or hemispherical space. In this space, I can cut off, exchange, and splice anything at will. The life that is cut off will not die, and there will not even be bleeding. It will still be alive, but it will produce slight pain. Leorio said as he opened up the room space and slashed towards Kurapika's body. Kurapika's body and legs were completely separated, but both were able to move independently, and there was no trace of blood. Then Kurapika introduced herself. My name is Kurapika, and my ability is Susanoo. Buzz. Kurapika's eyes moved, and the sword-shaped pattern moved in her eyes. Immediately afterwards, a huge red skeleton burning with flames rose from the ground and hit the ceiling of the base. This scene stunned Pariston and Cheadle. How should I introduce it? Chapter 95. After Gon and others introduced their abilities, Pariston and Cheadle Yorkshire, 2 earthly branches, were still in a daze. These 8 people have different abilities. Cut the flesh at will without dying. A giant skeleton with flames burning all over its body. An electric man whose whole body is transformed into lightning element. A lineman who can control others and linearize the environment. President Netero, you are really a hidden talent. There are these strange people in our association, but you are still hiding them. You are treating me, the vice president of the Hunter Association, as an outsider. Pariston smiled bitterly and shook his head, then he took out a handkerchief from his pocket and wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. He could see that the abilities displayed by these people did not belong to the category of nin, and should be of the same origin as the method of controlling trees displayed by President Netero. Pariston didn't believe in coincidences. This must have been something the old man had planned. He hid it from everyone and didn't leak any information. He did such a big thing quietly. It's really unfathomable. President Netero. At this moment, Pariston gave up his previous stereotype of President Netero and began to re-examine the 120-year-old man in front of him. The V5 leader fell into silence for a long time after witnessing President Netero's methods. They looked at the Wolf Castle spaceship floating in the air with mixed feelings. As the leader of V5, the pinnacle of human power, he felt a little panicked for the first time when he felt an existence beyond human cognition. V5 can be said to be the pinnacle of human society's technological and military strength, and the forefront of world technological development is all in V5's secret base. It can be said that V5 has networked almost all the elite scientists in the entire human world. Their level represents the highest level of human technology. However, President Netero's sudden move left these 5 people at the pinnacle of human power stunned. Okima Federation, since President Netero has shown us that he is capable of carrying out this expedition, we can only fully support President Netero. Sahelta United States, President Netero, you said that this team of 11 people will be the advance expedition team. Will you organize more people to explore the Dark Continent after you return? Of course. Netero said firmly. The Dark Continent cake is obviously not something he can eat alone, and of course he doesn't want to share the benefits brought from the Dark Continent. He is already 120 years old. It is a great fortune for him to be able to do what he wants most at this age. With Netero's affirmative answer, the other leaders of V5 said nothing more. President Netero almost personally sponsored this expedition to the Dark Continent, and this was just an advance team, so asking for anything more would seem a bit inhumane. Mingbo Republic leader, then President Netero, we are waiting for your good news. If you need anything, V5 will provide it to you. Ka. The V5 leader's video call came to an abrupt end, and the remaining 11 people split into 2 groups and looked at each other. Pariston and Cheadle Yorkshire seemed to be the odd ones out in this small group, and they felt uncomfortable standing among them. Everyone, we are all old acquaintances. Except for Pariston and Cheadle, all 8 of you know each other. If there is more, I won't say more. Don't hide anything you have, just take it out. If you're not careful during your trip to the Dark Continent, you'll die there. The more prepared we are, the greater our chances of survival. Netero said seriously to Gon and his 8 companions. He had been to the Dark Continent and knew that place was a man-eating hell where one could lose his life if not careful. Even with the magical props from the blind box store, Netero does not dare to take it lightly. The more prepared you are for this trip, the better. You 8 can go back and prepare. Pariston and Cheadle stay. Netero waved to several people, indicating Pariston and Cheadle to follow him to the large conference room where the 12 earthly branches often held meetings. Da-da-da. Pariston and Cheadle followed Netero silently, and they watched Gon and his group get on the elevator and leave the underground base. His deep eyes were rolling around. I wonder what he was thinking? Hunter Association, inside the 12 earthly branches meeting room. After the selection meeting held by Netero, the remaining 10 people of the 12 earthly branches came here and talked about the reasons why Pariston and Cheadle were chosen. Why did President Netero choose Pariston and Cheadle? Do these 3 have any hidden secrets? Myzystem Nana, the ugly ox, crossed his legs on the conference table in front of him, supported his chin with one hand and twirled the pen in his hand with the other, looking around at the expressions of the people around him. Who knows? I don't think the focus should be on Pariston and Cheadle. The other 8 people are all hunters who have just been promoted by the association. Kluk flipped through the information of Gon and others in his hand, picked out Gon's photo and put it in front of Jin. Jin, your son is also on President Netero's list. Aren't you going to give us an explanation? The other earthly branches all looked at Jin, who was covering his face, with scrutiny in their eyes. Hey, hey, hey! Why are you looking at me like that? I don't know. Jin picked up Gon's hunter information and started reading it. Boom boom boom. There was a burst of intensive knocks on the door, and the originally noisy meeting room suddenly became quiet. Squeak. The door of the conference room was pushed open, and a bean-shaped man in a green suit walked into the room. Everyone, President Netero asks you to go to the small meeting room. He has something to say. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. As soon as the bean-faced man finished speaking, the 10 earthly branches rushed past him like the wind and headed straight for the small meeting room. The president has not forgotten us, the earthly branches. The next meeting will surely resolve the doubts in everyone's minds. Boom! Jin was the first to break open the wooden door of the small conference room, followed by the remaining 9 earthly branches who arrived one after another. President Netero, Paristan, and Cheadle had been sitting in their chairs, waiting for a long time. Everyone, please take a seat. I have something to say before we head to the Dark Continent. Now comes the point. The earthly branches sat at the conference table with questions in their minds, and looked at President Netero who was sitting in the main seat. Everyone, the journey to the Dark Continent is about to begin. This time I will lead 10 people as a vanguard to the Dark Continent to fight for everyone. After returning this time, V5 and the Kajin Empire will join hands with the Hunter Association to conquer the Dark Continent. Okay, now let's talk about the doubts in your mind. Do you want to know the origin of my ability that is different from Nin's? Chapter 96. Here we come. After hearing Netero's words, all the earthly branches present had 2 gleams of desire in their eyes. Everyone. I hope you won't spread the following news, so I hope you can make an oath and a restriction. Netero's eyes were as sharp as torches, his expression was serious, and his tone was filled with undeniable majesty. Mo Lin's blind box store is a double-edged sword for these earthly branches that have strong strength and influence. He wanted to delay the exposure of Mo Lin's blind box store to the world as much as possible. At Netero's request, all 12 earthly branches swore an oath. The information obtained from Netero was only circulated among 12 people. 5 minutes later, when the ceremony was completed, Netero slowly opened his mouth and told the story of Mo Lin's blind box store. He told all the earthly branches present everything he had experienced, knew, and speculated about the Wanja blind box store. Everyone, this is what I want to say. The existence of blind box stores is a double-edged sword. I hope you can use it reasonably. The meeting is adjourned. After Netero finished speaking, he left the meeting room, leaving the 12 earthly branches looking at each other in bewilderment. What I just said was too shocking, but it just explains everything that is happening now. Everyone. I'm leaving first. I have something else to do, so I'll leave first. At once, the 12 earthly branches left the scene one after another. They wanted to verify what President Netero had just said. On the other side, the 8 Gon people were divided into several different teams to make final preparations for the trip to the Dark Continent. Ilmi returned to the Zaldik family alone, intending to discuss the trip to the Dark Continent with his father. Hisoka disappeared into the crowd, while Mo Lin followed behind Netero, preparing to go to the Dark Continent to prepare things. Gon, Killua, and Kate went to Mo Lin's blind box store together. For the 3 of them, Boss Mo Lin's blind box store is the fastest way to enhance their strength. There is nothing more joyful than drawing a blind box. He took out the purchase card, held it in his hand, and with a thought, he appeared in Mo Lin's Wanja blind box store in the next second. Mankai blind box store. Mo Lin was slacking off with Charmander when Gon and his 2 companions suddenly appeared in front of him. Everyone. Welcome to the Wanja blind box store. Long time no see. Mo Lin said with a smile. He knew the purpose of the 3 people in front of him. They came to him to replenish their equipment before setting off for the Dark Continent. Mo Lin saw Netero's recent movements through surveillance. This old guy finally spread the existence of the Wanja blind box store. The 12 earthly branches will bring in a huge amount of income. After all, the earthly branches have money, but there are no blind box points yet. Mo Lin is quite looking forward to the arrival of the earthly branches. Mo Lin stood up from the counter and walked towards Gon and others. Is there anything I can help you with? Boss Mo Lin, please give us 3 people, 12 legendary blind boxes each. Kate handed 3 purchase cards to Mo Lin. The entire assets of the 3 people are the 12,000 blind box points on the purchase card. Okay, wait a moment. Since they were all old customers, Mo Lin didn't waste any words. After receiving the card, he marked the 12,000 blind box points on the card, took out 36 legendary blind boxes from the warehouse and placed them on the counter. Gon and the other 2 opened the box silently in their minds with ease, and the light on the blind box began to flicker. As the blind boxes were opened one by one, lights of various colors illuminated the entire blind box store. After a while, from the expressions on the 3 people's faces, it can be seen that the result of opening the blind box this time was quite good. Gon, 2 golds and 1 purple. Kate, 1 gold and 2 purple. Killua, Ichike. Killua. You actually opened a colorful item. Seeing the colorful light, Gon couldn't help but exclaim. The record for colored items was broken by Killua, and President Netero is no longer the only one who has colored items. Killua, you are really lucky. Congratulations. Mo Lin also came to Killua curiously. This is the first person besides President Netero to receive a colored item. Staring at the object floating in the colorful light in the air in front of him, Mo Lin felt that it looked strangely familiar. This looks like a smaller version of REI. Killua couldn't wait to touch the ball of light in the air with his fingertips, and information about the object flooded into his mind. Colored items, REI, from the Seer universe, the legendary god of thunder, the second patron saint of Helka in the Pano galaxy, the king of the new generation of electric elves, powerful and unfathomable. It really is it. Mo Lin said secretly. This was the first time he saw a pixie from the Seer universe. One of the 3 giant elves in the early days of Seer, a mysterious boss as famous as Gaia and Cassius. Powerful is its synonym. REI broke away from the ball of light and floated in the air. He slowly opened his eyes and looked at Killua in front of him. The moment Killua's fingertips touched it, a close connection was established between the two. The moment he saw REI appear in front of him, Killua was completely stunned. Dressed in yellow and white with lightning flashing all over his body, REI exudes a noble and powerful aura. Hello. My name is REI. Hello. My name is Killua. Killua, who ate the thunder fruit and turned into lightning, was naturally attracted to Rei, and the two felt an inexplicable sense of intimacy from each other. During the process of getting to know each other, Kate and Gon also checked the information of the items in front of them. Gon Gold items, Night Bat Mask, from the world of Jackie Chan Adventures. After wearing it, you will gain the power of darkness and can go to the world of shadows to summon the Night Bat group, Flying Shadow. But be careful not to keep it for too long, otherwise you will be eroded by the shadows. Domain, Gugwan Iron Wall Mountain, from the world of spells, the domain of the special great spell Spirit Lahu, which releases a large amount of telekinesis and unfolds a domain with spells. Ordinary Nin will be burned to ashes in an instant if they enter his domain. Purple items, A Senzu Bean, from the Dragon Ball world, I really can't collect any more, Karin really doesn't have any left. Kate, Gold items, Super Advanced Destructive Magic, Crash, from the world of Fairy Tale, it can instantly shatter the atomic connections of the material it touches. If used on a living being, the effect depends on the caster's intention, and can turn the opponent into dust on the spot or turn it into thousands of small clones. Purple items, Explosive Talisman *1000, from the Naruto world, art is explosion. Scientific Ninja Tool Capsule, Fire Style, Great Fireball Annihilation, from the Naruto world, contains a one-time ninjutsu fire style, Great Fireball Annihilation. His Mo Lin gasped when he saw the golden items that Gon and Kate had obtained. So practical. Chapter 97. A week later, International Ferry Permit Office. This licensing office is an organization directly under V5, and is specifically responsible for the affairs of crossing to the Dark Continent. Its job is to manage the entry and exit information of the whole world, investigate and input it into the database, taking into account the political and social situation of each country, the habitat distribution and migration of animals and plants, climate change, etc. Calculate navigation risks, nature protection levels, and ultimately make the safety index public. Anyone who wants to travel to the Dark Continent must obtain permission from the Permit Office. President Netero led a team of 10 people to the Visa Office and obtained permission to travel to the Dark Continent. Visa Officer Cass handed Netero 11 permit certificates stamped with the Permit Office seal and took the opportunity to ask. President Netero, I really can't believe that you are actually leading the team to the Dark Continent in person. The greatest taboo of mankind, the territory that must not be violated, the Dark Continent. Are you ready to conquer the Dark Continent? Netero took the license certificate and chuckled. Humans have gained power beyond your imagination. That is why I dare to lead the team to the Dark Continent in person. Visa Officer Cass sighed and then laughed. Then President Netero, I wish you a safe return from this exploration trip. Mingbo Republic, Sky Arena, Sky Harbor. The wet and salty sea breeze mixed with a hint of water vapor blew in my face, sweeping across the entire Sky Harbor. The entire harbor has been completely occupied by soldiers wearing the uniforms of the Mingbo Republic. There is a guard post every 3 steps and a sentry every 5 steps, stretching for several miles and forming a tight blockade. On an empty stand near the sea, the more than 90-meter-long Wolf Castle spacecraft was floating quietly in the air waiting for the departure signal. President Netero led 10 team members to stand in the temporary command post under the stands and made final arrangements with the generals of the Mingbo Republic. President Netero, even though you are an old man who has been to the Dark Continent, there are some things we still need to explain in advance. The Dark Continent is known as a forbidden place for humans. It is full of dangers. If any strange creature gets entangled with you, you are likely to die on the spot. You know the 5 disasters best. So, the target of your exploration this time can only be one of the 5 places where the 5 disasters were discovered before. Please make your choice. The general took out a yellowed map made of craft paper from a cabinet nearby and spread it on the table. This is an accurate map showing the locations where the 5 major disasters were discovered. Netero looked at the human world plate in the center of the map, his eyes drooping, and pondered for a moment. He knew very well that V5 wanted him to bring back the treasure from the Dark Continent. The 5 disasters are not only 5 curses, but also the gatekeepers of 5 treasures. Without exception, near the 5 major disasters, there are fantastic resources that humans have been unable to develop in thousands of years. Paputi Ichthyobiast, Danger Level A, guarding a mineral called Infinity Stone. Plant Weapon Gold and Silver Ingots, Danger Level B+, it guards the vanilla that can cure any disease. Two-tailed Snake Hell Bell, Danger Level A, guarding the food of immortality, Nitolami. Immortal Disease, Zorba Disease Danger Level B+, guarding an alchemical plant. Gas Life Form. E Danger Level A, guarding the ternary water that can become the raw material of all liquids. The 5 disasters were running wildly in Netero's mind, and he was thinking about which place would be safer to go to. General, I have decided to head to the Labyrinth City in the forest north of Lake Mobius. Okay, President Netero. All the information about the plant weapon gold and silver ingots will be sent to your spaceship later. After a day of rest, all 11 members of the exploration team have boarded the Wolf Castle spacecraft, waiting to set sail. At the conference round table on the Wolf Castle spaceship, 11 people gathered around the table. In front of him was a complete document about plant weapons, gold and silver ingots that Netero had just distributed. Swish, swish, swish. For everyone present except Netero, this information was like a newly discovered new world, full of attraction. Is this the information about the gold and silver ingots, one of the 5 major disasters, plant weapons? Pariston quickly flipped through the information in his hand and smacked his lips repeatedly. While everyone was looking through the information, Netero slowly told them the information he knew about gold and silver bars. Everyone. This time we are heading to a mysterious sea of trees in the north of Lake Mobius. There is an ancient labyrinth city there. Legend has it that there grows a herb that is said to be able to cure any disease. It is said that Dong Freaks, who wrote the New World Chronicle, ate this herb and the immortal Nitolami. Swish. At this point, Netero turned to the 5th page of the information, which contained information about humans exploring the maze. Everyone, please turn to page 5. In order to obtain this herb, the Sahelta United States once sent a special forces team into the Labyrinth City, but they were completely defeated by the plant weapons guarding the city, gold and silver ingots. And there are only 2 survivors. Looking at the number of survivors in the data, Netero couldn't help but pause. He recalled that when he was young, he led the members of the Hunter Association to explore the Dark Continent. That was the first time he had seen such a horrific scene. Everything, including the creatures and plants, were incredibly large. A wildflower on the roadside may cost you your life. Therefore, Netero was extremely cautious about this exploration and was prepared to reorganize. He continued reading. The ferocity of the plant weapon gold and silver ingots is designated as B. The description of B means that depending on the conditions, it may actively attack humans. It is very likely that they are only attacking intruders who have invaded the Labyrinth City. Judging from the appearance, the body below the head is completely human. It is unlikely to be naturally formed. It is most likely a synthetic weapon obtained by modifying humans. And the number is only 10 to dozens. The description of fertility is that if certain conditions are met, explosive reproduction can be achieved. Whether it is reproduction through infectious behavior or reproduction through reproductive behavior is unknown. The above is all the information about plant weapon gold and silver ingots that Netero has summarized based on his own understanding and everything in the data. Everyone. Before entering the maze, Please count all the items and abilities you have with you. I don't want you to hide things from me. Chapter 98. Netero glanced at the 10 people around him with sharp eyes, waiting for their responses. He prepared a lot for this dark continent exploration trip. Currently, the items I have include the colorful Wolf Castle spaceship, the weather cube, and the 4-dimensional pocket with 10 uses. Golden item Fangfreet, it is a sword that has eaten the elephant fruit. It contains a universal capsule plus with 10,000 cubic meters of space and a gourmet tablecloth that can conjure food 10 times a day. I have a useful purple item, 3 Momotaro rice balls. Feeding them to wild beasts can make them obedient and docile. I just wonder if it will work on the creatures of the Dark Continent. Netero counted all the items he had, and he explained the function of each item in detail to the group of 10 people in front of him. After introducing Netero, I will start with Kate and introduce them one by one. Kate, a rainbow stone, an umbrella called the 6 Paths of Reincarnation, a super advanced destructive magic, Crash, 1000 detonating talismans and a scientific ninja tool capsule. Hisoka, I only have the old man Ilmi, the front blade of the magic knife, the piercing ring, the wallpaper room, the arbitrary door with 5 limited uses left, and the swimming powder for 15 people. Killua, Pikachu, REI. This open-hearted introduction lasted nearly half an hour. When everyone finished introducing their items, Pariston and Cheadle's faces showed a hint of shock. The ability of each item can be said to be quite amazing. When did these 9 people come into contact with Boss Mo Lin's blind box store? Pariston thought to himself. At this moment, he was actually a little jealous. After learning about the existence of the blind box shop of all worlds from President Netero, Pariston and the other 11 earthly branches quietly went to the blind box shop of all worlds in the Sky Arena. He and Cheadle spent a total of 8 billion blind boxes in the blind box store. 80 high-end blind boxes. The two of them only obtained 5 golden items in total. That guy Jin actually only spent 1 billion rings to get 2 golden items. What luck! Absolutely what luck! He Pariston only obtained 3 golden items. These 3 items are parts of one item. Special grade Curse Spirit Inarihara Fragment *3, from the Jujutsu world, Atsutsu Uata's childhood sweetheart, but now she belongs to Pariston. The 3 fragments just make up a complete special grade Curse Spirit Inarihara. Fortunately, this special grade cursed spirit was very powerful. When he summoned Rika Kimoto, he saw a hint of shyness from a little girl on her ferocious face. My heart was moved. This is his perfect ideal type. At that moment when the special grade cursed spirit prayed to Rika Ben, unprecedentedly powerful energy surged out of her body. Rika, I love you. Pariston hugged Rika's strong arms tightly. So this is how President Netero feels, different from Nin. So cool. On the other hand, Cheadle Yorkshire only received 2 gold items. Imperial Equipment, 5 Vision Universal Observer Fragment *2, from the Crimson World, an Imperial Equipment with 5 abilities, Clairvoyance, Farsightedness, Perspective, Future Vision, and Illusion. It can see into people's hearts, observe far away, penetrate visual barriers, see the future, and initiate illusions. Cheadle's eyes widened when he received the golden prop. Ever since I got to know the abilities of the 8 teammates around me in the underground base of the Hunter Association, there was a string in her heart. Becoming a useful person is always her pursuit. After obtaining this imperial weapon, Cheadle Yorkshire positioned himself as a supporting member of the team. The healing fruit combined with the imperial weapon, the 5 vision all-powerful, the two worked together to give Cheadle the ability to heal and observe. She took the initiative to ask Leorio to form a team, and the two of them became the medical team. Leader and fighter, Netero. Deputy team leader and support team, Pariston. Logistics support team, Cheadle, Leorio. Advance exploration team, Hisoka, Illumi. Combat support team, Gon, Killua, Mo Lin, Kate. Only with a clear division of labor can a team have a chance of survival in the dark continent full of dangers. As the Wolf Castle spaceship slowly sailed out of the island where the human world was located, the boundless Lake Mobius slowly emerged. Looking from the spacecraft, the azure water of Lake Mobius looks like a sapphire inlaid on the surface of the Earth, sparkling with dazzling golden light under the reflection of the sunlight. Beneath the calm lake surface, a huge black shadow can be vaguely seen swaying with its tail. Plop! A huge wave suddenly arose on the calm lake surface, and a dark shadow under the lake broke through the surface of the lake and leaped into the air. A bloody mouth attacked the Wolf Castle spaceship in mid-air. Wow, what a big fish! Gon exclaimed, it was the first time he saw such a big fish. Its entire body was covered with silver-grey scales, and half of its body was out of the water, nearly tens of meters long. Its head was more than 10 times larger than the swamp fish he had caught on Whale Island. The sudden attack of the strange fish made Gon and Killua nervous. Monster! What should we do? Killua exclaimed. After all, they were young and had never seen the world, so Gon and Killua were the only two people in the whole team who seemed a little panicked. President Netero smiled slightly. Wolfberg spaceship, activate the energy shield. Space-based weapons preparation. Buzz. The next second, a blue energy shield enveloped the Wolf Castle spaceship. The moment the monster fish's bloody mouth bit the blue shield, there was a crack sound. The teeth, which were 2 or 3 meters long, suddenly broke when they came into contact with the blue chaos. Ah.ho! The strange fish became angry when it was blocked. It roared and green gas gushed out of its mouth, covering the entire Wolf Castle spaceship. Boom boom boom! A huge monster fish leaped to the top of the Wolf Castle spaceship and used its slender body to wrap around the Wolf Castle spaceship with its blue shield turned on. We haven't left the human world too far and have just reached the border of Mobius. They were attacked by monsters. Byte space-based weapons are 99% charged. Space-based weapons are fully charged. Emission, boom in the sky of a parallel universe, a laser beam fell from the sky. Descends into the sky of the Hunter world. The huge strange fish that was entangled with the Wolf Castle spaceship suddenly trembled and looked up at the sky. A blinding light grew brighter and brighter. With the breath of destruction, it penetrated its body. Sizzle! The body of the strange fish was broken into 2 pieces by the beam of light from the space-based weapon. Half of the body fell from the sky. Chapter 99. Boom! The body of the huge monster fish fell from mid-air into the clear Lake Mobius, splashing huge waves on the calm surface of the lake. After half of the fish fell into the lake, the azure water surface instantly turned scarlet. Inside the Wolfberg spaceship, after witnessing the power of space-based weapons, everyone's expressions were very varied. Master President, I never thought that this Wolf Castle spaceship has such a powerful attack method. Periston stared at the half-fish body wrapped in the blue shield, hanging in the air and gushing blood, his eyes widened. There was a hint of sourness in his tone. Is this the power of colorful objects? It's so powerful. Periston could only mutter in his heart. Ever since he went to the Wanja blind box store, he knew the level of items opened in the blind boxes, and colored items are undoubtedly the highest level at present. And Netero actually has 3 items of this level. Periston was as jealous as a lemon. Everyone, this is the dark continent outside the human world. It is full of dangers. If you are not careful, you will lose your life. Netero pointed to the water where half of the fish had just fallen and continued. The dark continent is a place without any rules. The law of the jungle prevails and the survival of the fittest is the eternal law. Even in Lake Mobius, it is several times more terrifying than the most dangerous place in the human world. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The body of the strange fish fell into the lake and floated on the surface of the lake. In less than a minute, countless dense and fine black spots began to appear around the fish's body, rushing towards the half-fish body madly. In less than a minute, half of the fish's body revealed its snow-white bones. Only at this time did the people on the spacecraft see clearly what these fine black spots were. They were small fish with a dark body, less than 30 centimeters long, and sharp teeth. This fish is called sawfish. It was discovered by a team exploring the Dark Continent more than 100 years ago. At that time, there was only a slight smell of blood leaking from the cabin, and the fish went crazy. In less than 5 minutes, they ate up the wooden boat that was dozens of meters long. The teeth are as sharp as steel, and the digestive juices in their bodies are extremely corrosive. Once you are targeted, it is difficult to escape. And when these fish appear, they appear in schools of hundreds or even thousands. Netero slowly narrated the information about the sawfish. He knew everything about the Dark Continent recorded by humans. As the leader of this expedition team, he acted like an encyclopedia. How terrifying! The Dark Continent is so dangerous! Gon exclaimed. In the year he turned 12, he experienced more exciting things than in the past 11 years combined. He was shocked to see such ferocious fish as soon as he stepped into Lake Mobius. Gon, you're surprised too early, said Periston. As the vice president of the Hunter Association, although he has not been exposed to as much information about the Dark Continent as Netero, he is definitely considered to be a knowledgeable person in the group. The threat level of this sawfish is only D level. If there weren't so many of them, an ordinary adult could use some equipment to deal with it. After all, it's just a fish. Bang! The Wolf Castle spaceship floating in the air suddenly tilted, and then the huge strange fish entangled on the blue shield fell down with a loud bang. With a weird cry of awe, the huge fish fell into the school of sawtooth fish. Swish, swish, swish. Nature's gift is here. Scarlet blood, pieces of flesh of varying sizes, and the azure blue water were intertwined together and kept surging on the surface of the lake. A strange fish that was dozens of meters long was reduced to a skeleton floating on the lake in less than 20 minutes. Cruel. Bloody. The ordinary things happening every moment in the Dark Continent shocked these hunters who were stepping out of the human kingdom for the first time. Netero laughed as he looked at the constipated faces. Everyone, cheer up. The Dark Continent is waiting for us. 2 days later, after the Wolfberg spaceship flew at full speed, and after some incorrect adjustments in direction, the group finally stumbled to their destination, the northern forest of Lake Mobius. Wow, is this the northern sea of trees? It's so spectacular. Killua stuck his whole body to the glass cover of the spaceship, staring at the northern sea of trees right below the spaceship. Gone, come and see. Killua's exclamation immediately attracted the other people who were doing their own things. They all put down what they were doing and came to the floor-to-ceiling window of the Wolf Castle spaceship. Shocking, so shocking. The first thing that catches your eye is a dead green. Looking closely, you will see that they are towering trees growing above the lake, intertwined with each other, forming an endless sea of trees. Buzz. Netero controlled the Wolf Castle spaceship to slowly descend several hundred meters in altitude. The originally clearly visible spaceship was now covered with a layer of fine green smoke. Every time the Wolfberg spaceship descended a little, the sound of the sky in the sea of trees made the eardrums of everyone on the spaceship buzz. Descending into the sea of trees, Netero controlled the Wolf Castle spacecraft to hover above the trunk of a giant tree. Several people in the spaceship looked at the mysterious forest space. The green smoke floating around the spaceship blocked their sight, but they could vaguely see the intertwined tree trunks. Deep in the surrounding green mist, the sounds of beasts roaring, birds singing, and fish leaping in the water intertwined together, accompanied by the rustling of leaves in the sea of trees when the wind blew, exuding a desolate atmosphere. Is this the interior of the sea of trees? It seems a little different from the dead silence seen from the sky. Hisoka looked at the environment of the sea of trees through the glass. If you only look at it from above the sea of trees, you would think it is a desolate and dead place. But all kinds of sounds mixed together and rushed into my ears. The people on the spaceship realized that this place was full of unknown dangers, just like the strange fish attack they experienced in Lake Mobius. Wait! Look, there's a dark shadow over there. Gon shouted, pointing somewhere in the green smoke. Several people followed the direction of Gon's finger and noticed a dark shadow. Through the green smoke, everyone could vaguely see that the black shadow seemed to be a standing human figure. He walks upright, has a well-proportioned figure, and resembles a human. However, his arms hang down to his knees. They are a little too long. Pariston observed carefully and his expression gradually became nervous. Could it be the gold and silver ingots that are one of the 5 disasters? Chapter 100. After hearing the name of the plant weapon gold and silver ingots, Gon and Killua both gasped. That is one of the 5 disasters with a danger level of B+. I didn't expect to encounter it so soon. Several people standing in front of the glass cover of the Wolf Castle spaceship stared nervously at the dark shadow slowly approaching the Wolf Castle spaceship. The green smoke lingering around the spaceship gradually dissipated. The black figure slowly emerged, a standing ape that was 2 meters tall. An ape. What is it going to do? Boom. Before everyone could react, they felt the Wolf Castle spaceship shake violently. The next second, Gon and Killua's vision was blocked by a black shadow. The standing ape was clinging to the glass of the Wolf Castle spaceship, opening a big mouth full of fangs. It bit the semicircular bulging glass cover, and its fangs and claws scratched the glass surface, making a sharp sizzling sound. Coupled with the ape's hideous and terrifying face, Gon and Killua were so scared that they took a few steps back. The combined impact of sight and sound almost left the 2 12-year-old children with psychological trauma. Boom. Sizzle. The ape lying on the glass suddenly stood up and pounded the glass of the spaceship like crazy after seeing Gon and Killua retreat. The apes were incredibly strong, and every blow they made caused a considerable vibration to the Wolf Castle spaceship. President Netero, please raise the Wolf Castle spaceship. Pariston looked at Netero and requested. Netero didn't say anything, but just stared at the ape in front of him who was roaring madly and pounding the glass. After 2 or 3 seconds, he slowly spoke. You see, this ape has a roll of leather and paper on his waist. With Netero's instructions, everyone looked at the lush hair on the ape's waist. On the left side of the waist, near the buttocks, there was a brown scroll-like object tied with a knot, with a section of hair protruding out. The scroll was difficult to spot because it matched the brown hair of the ape so closely. Everyone, this ape is too strange. When it saw us, it tried to knock on the glass like crazy. And with this scroll, I think it must have seen humans before. Pariston speculated. The ape's reaction was too abnormal. If it is not for food, creatures will rarely go crazy and try to catch another creature. Of course, there is another possibility that humans did something bad to the ape, causing it to break the glass and approach humans as soon as it approached the spacecraft and saw humans. The scroll was most likely left behind by some human who came here. Based on the ape's reaction, several people have already formed a reasonable guess in their minds. I didn't expect to meet such an ape right after landing in the forest. It's really fate. Hisoka sneered. He was now somewhat impatient to get out of the Wolf Castle spaceship and have a beautiful and intimate exchange of blood and flesh with the ape. President Netero, please let me out. I can control this ape with strings. Hisoka stared at the ape that continued to bang on the glass and pleaded with a hint of excitement in his tone. President, the scroll on this ape may contain some secrets. We still have to get the scroll from the ape. Mo Lin, who had been silent all the time, raised his sunglasses and stared at the ape. Everyone. Hisoka, Mo Lin, come with me. You guys find a way to control this ape. I have a way to calm him down. Netero remembered a purple item he once obtained, the Momotaro rice ball. Outside the Wolfberg spaceship, when Netero and the other two just walked out of the Wolf Castle spaceship, the ape who was knocking on the glass seemed to sense the presence of Netero and the other two. With a whoosh, it disappeared from in front of the glass. The next second, it leaped towards Netero, opening its claws and tearing at Netero's face. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Several transparent threads shot out from the center of Hisoka's palm and wrapped around the ape's limbs, and it jumped onto another tree trunk nearby. He manipulated the transparent silk thread in his hand, trying to control the ape's movements. Bun. The ape paused during the attack, glanced at its limbs, and felt a resistance pressing down on its limbs. Ahaha! The ape roared and tensed his limbs. The muscles of the entangled limbs swelled instantly and broke the transparent silk threads. When Mo Lin saw that Hisoka did not stop the ape's actions, he immediately activated the ability of the smoke fruit, elementalizing his entire body, turning it into a ball of smoke and blending into the green smoke. A stream of green smoke was directed towards the rushing ape, and just as the ape's sharp claws were about to reach Netero, they stopped straight about half a meter in front of Netero's face. The ape's limbs were controlled by both smoke and silk threads, and he could not move for a while. Ahaha! The controlled ape had flames of anger in his eyes, his limbs struggled hard, and hoarse roars came out of his throat. It doesn't accept. It wanted to kill Netero right in front of it. Kill all the humans here. Netero looked at the ape's angry face expressionlessly, took out a Momotaro rice ball from his pocket and threw it into the ape's mouth. A large hand pinched the ape's lower jaw and pushed it up towards the upper jaw several times, forcing it to chew. After 3 or 5 seconds, the ape stopped roaring, and its head drooped, looking at its feet. President Netero, what is this? The contrast between the apes before and after made Mo Lin a little confused. President, what did you feed it? Momotaro rice ball, a purple item I got from boss Mo Lin before. Once a rice ball is thrown, if it is eaten by an animal, not including humans, it will completely obey the words of the person who threw it. Isn't this ape an animal? Netero was a little confused. It had been a minute or two since he had eaten the rice ball, but why was the ape's head drooping like he was dead? Is this thing expired? Ahaha, ahaha. A soft sound came from the ape's mouth, which was completely different from the previous roar. When the ape raised his head, his big watery eyes looked at Netero in a silly and cute way, and the corners of his mouth actually curled up on his ferocious face. He gave an ugly smile. It's trying to please me. This thought came to Netero's mind. Let it go. But, President, what if? Mo Lin was worried that the ape was pretending, as apes have very high IQs. Acting is no problem at all. It's okay, Momotaro rice balls have already worked. At Netero's repeated request, Hisoka and Mo Lin released the restraints, and the freed ape lay meekly at Netero's feet, stroking his shoes with his big hands. He kept shouting ahaha. Netero bent down and took the scroll from the ape's waist, untied the straps tied to the scroll, and slowly opened it. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.